the Ironman GNCC National. With 2015 newly crowned champion and last year's winner, Caleb Russell, out, it's anybody's game this year. We're here in Crawfordsville, Indiana, under unbelievable blue skies, warm temperatures nearing 70 degrees, and looking for the racing action to heat up here in the fields of Crawfordsville, Indiana.
And good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Shaver Family Farm here in western Indiana for this, the 21st running of the Amsoil Ironman GNCC. Round number 13 of America's premier off-road racing championship, my friends, and the stage is set for another day of greatness. Our starting lineup here for this round 13 of the Amsoil GNCC series, rolling to the starting line in accordance of their championship point standings. He is ranked second in points. He rolls to the line first today, rolling aboard the number 314. From Belton, South Carolina, on the Infab Ampro Yamaha, the rookie himself, Grant Baylor. Rolling to the line today, second. He is third in points. A legacy, if you will, the son of Chad Duvall, who won here on an ATV back in 1999. Well, Thad hopes that he can continue that legacy today on two wheels as he rolls to us today from Williamstown, West Virginia, on board the Rocky Mountain Amsoil KR4 Far Racing Husqvarna, Bad Thad Duvall. Rolling to the line today, third. He is fourth in points. He rides aboard the number 2. He hails from Australia on a Rockstar Energy Husqvarna, Josh Strang. Rolling to the line next aboard the number 9. He is one of Indiana's own. From Crown Point on the Johnny Campbell Racing Honda, Kris Borch. Rolling to the line next today, he rides aboard the number 264, recently winning the ISDE, America's first time winner of that particular event. He rides aboard the Air Group Rockstar Husqvarna. From Ekron, Kentucky, Ryan Sipes. Rolling to the line next today, riding aboard the number 3 from Cookeville, Tennessee, on an Infab Ampro Yamaha. Says he's in search of his first career win here today in Indiana, Jordan Ashford. Rolling to the line next today, aboard the number 121. Returning to GNCC after a few years of absence due to injury. Hailing from Logan, Ohio, on board a factory beta, it's Cory Buttrick. Rolling to the line next, a former XC2 Pro Lights class champion. Riding aboard the 514 from Belton, South Carolina on a Mototech KTM, Stu Baylor. Next aboard the number 20, hailing from Cincinnati, Ohio, on an Obermeyer Suzuki, backed by Fly Racing and Maxxis Tires, Chris Douglas. Rolling to the line next, aboard the number 304, from Rocklin, California, Von Wilk. Visiting from the West Coast, riding aboard the number 420 from Boulder Creek, California. On board the FMF KTM, Travis Coy. Rolling to the line next aboard the number 25 from Morrison, Illinois on a Fun Mart Cycle Fly Ride PG.com KTM, Adam Bonnard. Rolling to the line next, he rides aboard the number 901. He hails from Englewood, Ohio. On a factory Husqvarna, Nick Fahringer. And rolling to the line next. Today marks the final start as an XC1 Pro for this former Japanese cross-country racing legend. Hailing from Japan, conquering the world of American motocross at the young age, finishing as high as 12th place in the 250 class, the now 450 class, with a best career finish of 6th place as a professional motocross racer. Takeshi Coweta's first GNCC season was 2012. He finished 11 overall with a season best 5th place at Loretta Lynn's. In 2013, he finished 12th with a 7th place right here at the Ironman. And in 2014, 12th place overall with a 7th overall right here at the Ironman once again. From HR Motorsports on a Motivation Racing's Great Western Moto-backed Honda, Takeshi Coweta. And last and certainly not least today, rolling to the line aboard the number 31 machine from right here out of the great state of Indiana, from Petersburg, welcome Derek Allen. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this, the AMSOIL Ironman GNCC, as the machines are revving up and warming up here today as they ready themselves for the final battle of the 2015 championship season. Titles have been claimed. There are a few positions up for grabs, but the biggest thing on the line today here in Indiana are the bragging rights of being an Ironman GNCC champion. Some riders in search of their first ever career wins, while others are looking to put the spark back into the life of their programs as they roll into the off season. What kind of stories will be told at the end of the next 3 hours? Well, we do not know now, but we can anticipate the excitement that it all will bring as Ricky Towery is now down into the first turn region, and he is setting the stage from right there, letting these riders know we are inching our way so much closer to the start of this all-important Ironman GNCC. He signals the starting lineup in the first row. 1 minute, guys, 1 minute before the start of this Ironman GNCC. And as we get set to go today, as we said, championships are all out the window. It's all a ride for pride today, and the hearts are beginning to pound as each one hopes to celebrate a winner at the end of today. Ricky Towery lets these riders know, shut them down, boys, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. We are now less than 30 seconds away from going GNCC racing. And I got to ask you, Indiana race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Oh, that's pretty good, Indiana, but I got to ask you one more time because we're right here at the Ironman. Are you ready to go GNCC racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the XC1 Pro, will be off and rolling at the AMSOIL Ironman GNCC. $250 up for grabs here in the Whole Shot Award here today. Who's it going to be? Jordan Ashburn on the gas, and Jordan Ashburn will take the early lead. Cory Buttrick, though, right there in the number 2 spot, and we got a pile-up. Grant Baylor piled up in the first turn. Looks like Thad Duvall, as well as Nick Fahringer and the 3:04. Von Wilk also all tied up in turn 2. XC2 Pro Lights, Nick Davis, Jason Thomas, Craig DeLong, Jesse Grom, Sam Evans, Mike McGinnis, Zach Love, Mason Atherton, also Trevor Bollinger, Austin Lee, Lucas Statham, Austin Butler, Ricky Russell, Scott Grills, Philip Cheney, Mike Wichtowski, Levi Keller, Benjamin Kelly, David Schmidt, Nick Peterson, Tucker Smith, Ryan O'Neill, Matt Harrington, Dylan Hare, Harrison Helmick, Zach Maley. 10 seconds. Kyler Vance, Colin May, and Trevor Barrett. A $100 hole shot up for grabs here, courtesy of All Balls and Hot Cams here today, and it's going to be Jason Thomas. The number 1 takes the early lead here and the $100 hole shot award. 258 class, Vincent Smith, Evan Earl, Christopher Vendetti, Sam Shaver, Logan Lowry, Ryan Slopko, Preston Wheeler, Russell Smith, Nehaima Buckholtz, Vance Francis, Ryan Groto, Chase Herzog, Tristan Melgoza, Adam Smet, Eric Douglas, George Kowalski, Mark Haresco, Jaden Johnson, Sean Benhart, JoJo Bowden, also Greg Childers, Clayton Clark, Dustin Tenschler, Paul Pedron. 10 seconds. Hunter Neuwirth, Barrick Mooneyhan, Jake Froben, Brandon Gearing, and Braden Moore. Kick starts down on this one, and they are off. I like beard. It's the 412 machine of Mark Haresco from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, grabbing the early lead in this one as we go to the 4-stroke A lights class next. Row number 4. It is Brady Myers, Braxton McGee, Josh Lee, Chris McManus, Dawson Dunnett, Cody Barnes, Hunter Shelton, Mason Stevens, Andrew Rimley, Tyler Darman, Hunter Maddox, Tristan Landrum, Logan Papul, Loic Leonard, and Andrew France ready to row on Mr. Towery Skew as he lets them know it's time to go in 10 seconds. And they're off. 4-stroke A lights class, making things happen. Now around the first turn we go. It's the 24, or is that a 29? Actually, it's a 607 or 667 of Hunter Maddox. As we look at the helmet tag there, Open A coming up next. We got Zach Hayes, Luke Parsons, Nathan Thornhill, Daniel Soldovnik, Nathan Zicklow, Jesse Kildo, Cameron Ishmael, Sam Mattingly, Corey Neely, Dalton Cross, Cameron Sitz, Cole Kirkhoff, Ben Parsons, Seth Eberhardt, Zachary Keyser, R.J. Cook. 10 seconds. And the Open A class is off and rolling now. Zach Hayes out of Sumter, South Carolina, grabbing the early lead in this one. And, it's going to be the 59, Nathan Thornhill from Pex Mills, West Virginia. AOMC MX, Fly Racing, FMF Racing, grabbing that hole shot. As we look down next to the Senior A 40-plus class, Shotgun Sean Remington, Brett Torchilla, Dan Isles, also Rick Burton, Shane Cuthbertson, also Bob Bergman, Rob Brown, Mark McGrath, Eric Church, Sylvia, and Corey Thorson ready to roll. As Ricky Towery informs these guys, we are less than that 30-second mark now as he checks the situation out of turn 3. He looks at his watch and says, 10 seconds. Senior A 40-plus class off and rolling, and here we go. 398, Shane Cuthbertson out of Ardrey, Alberta, Canada, as the Van A 30-plus class gets set to roll next. We got Joe Marsh, Jedediah Haynes, Joe Kessler, Big Jim Steiner, also Gustavo Hidalgo, Jesse Arsenal, Jason Provito, Chris Snidel, Nathan Allring, Joe Dean, Jeremy Havens, Kirk Allen, Fabian Barada, and Cody Marks. Less than 10 seconds to go for these riders as they wait. The green flag gets up. Kick starts are down, and racing is on in the 36 of Jedediah Haynes from Fairfield, Pennsylvania. An off-road Viking Fly Unibiker bag machine is going to grab the early lead in this one. The 208 class coming up next. We got Zachary Ferentz, John Hugel, Logan Kiddick, Jesse Ansley. Welcome to the afternoon from the 200A class. You're the youth overall champion here in 2015. Josh Keys and Josh Brown ready to roll in 10 seconds. And they're off. $200A, some of the most competitive racing sometimes we see on the racetrack. Today, whoa, 389. Josh Keys, I believe, gets the early lead in that one. It's got the inside going into the next turn, turn 3, as we go to the Junior AB 25-plus class. Joseph McCarty, Ted Rogers, Jordan Overfield, Tyler Martin, Justin Divinus, Clayton Millsap, Adam Clark, Jay Middlestate, Aaron Stutler, Eric Breitmeyer, and Aaron Coxon. 10 seconds. There we go, around the first turn. Oh, 4:28, Adam Clark out of Norton, Ohio, AES Cycles, EKS Goggles, but I think he might have lost that lead shortly after that. 250B class, Mike Miller, Tyrell Murphy, Will Hart, Noah Smet, Josh Lyon, Sam Whitcomb, Matthew Elements, also Connor Keegan, Wyatt Brown, and Brian Klementowski. 10 seconds. Also got Coleman Brinson, Maxwell Randolph, Chas Triggerlet, Gregory Coffey, Justin Murphy, Kobe Packard, Joseph McGurger, Cody Aliff, and Cale Grindle. And we got the 7:13 of Cody Aliff out of Martinsville, Indiana, taking the early lead. 200B class coming up next. Sean Cochran, Dawson Driscoll, Wyatt Bruner, Adam Parker, Josh Ludicky, Ben Kowalski, Alex Tweeton, Hank Hayes, Randy Smith, Keaton Boswell, Caleb Williams, Colton Cup, and Ryan Tide. 10 seconds. Try to sort this one out as they come toward the stripe now. 3-7-1. That is Adam Parker from New Kensington, Pennsylvania, on an Alias Garnet 412 Motorsports machine. Next to the Bet B 30-plus class, Larry Hopper, Michael Ashley, Sean Morris, Gabriel Ramirez, Jason Wilson, Dan Vanderwick, Randy Martin. 10 seconds. And they're off along with Jarrett McCoy, Jarrett Kimball, Jason McCoy, Jerry Costello, Jimmy Pruder, Tom Sawyer, Chris Levin, Toby Evans, Jeremy Dexter, and Scott Dowland. And that is 880. Jeremy Dexter out of Nelsonville, Ohio, with a garbage bag on his back, taking the early lead. Don't want no mud on that New Jersey, I guess. Open B class coming up next. Corbin Paulton, Cody Harden, Roman Phipps, Bill Zavendi, Colton Stanley, Damian Madison, Jacob Givens, Austin Smith, Dalton Kemp, Ryan Statler, Johnny Schoolcraft, Corey Virgin, Tim Squire, David Trinkle, Mike Good, along with Scott Krause, Josh Atkins, Tom Wagner, Joseph Patton, Zach Abram. 10 seconds. Also Joey Meyer, Daniel Campbell, Ryan McManus, Daniel Johnson, Brian Oberchain, James Harshberger, Michael Hall, Eric Souders, Kyle Stotler. Looks like we got Shane Campbell, Dustin Stanley, and Jay Downhour out there with us right now, and I missed the whole shot on that one. So Senior B 40-plus class, Devin Ferguson, Christian Hill, Gene Swidwa, Matt Bosma, Chris King, Jason Hall, Doug Harris, Pete Emmy, Joe Van de Bonacure, Mark Atkins, Jeremy Turner, Ryan Mottinger, Leon Whitaker, Kenneth O'Connor, and Mike Kochman. 10 seconds. I'm thinking that might be Swidwa about ready to swing through here now. Let's see what we got going. Oh, 8:48 steals the thunder. Mike Kochman out of Powell, Ohio on a short North Inc. Dunlop Tire Smith goggles back machine. 4-stroke B lights class, our final row to start today. Looking at Adam Hollenkamp, Bolton Biron, Troy Lieberman, Brendan Poling, TJ Butler, Yusuf Atanyi, also Michael Tetlow, Clint Corey, Cole Edwards, Drew Bolton, Trevor Eckes, Alex Ingram, and Colton Hale in less than 10 seconds, my friends. Our final row of racing will be off and rolling. And there you have it, the final green flag of 2015 waves. And it's the 292 of Troy Lieberman out of Columbus, North Carolina. Oh, he has it stolen away by Alex Ankrum, the Bonsai Dunlop fly rider out of Hamden, Ohio. We got one rider still on the start. And I have the honors of meeting Mr. Alex Ankrum last off season. He actually works in the local Dakota Steak Shop back home in Ohio. So looking like a good start for a lot of great folks, and plenty of time to work it out if they didn't make it happen here in the first few moments of this Ironman GNCC. And another great and tremendous turnout, great crowd, great racers here with us, and we'll see how it all stacks up when GNCC Live continues right after this.
Any engine, any season, at home, at the track, or on the trail. AMSOIL for any engine.
I'm a sore loser.
I'm a sore loser. Losing is not an option for me.
Be the best.
The best? The best. You have to have the best equipment under the hood. That's why I only use
Cometic products in my engines.
Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket. Cometic gasket.
Cometic gasket, a superior quality gasket
For those of us who demand the highest level of performance.
This RacerTV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the action's heating up here quick, and it's heating up fast. We've got Josh Strang jumping out to an early lead here at the Amsoil Ironman GNCC. The conditions are absolutely perfect here today, Matt Watson. We got a little bit of rain last night, and we had a little bit of rain leading up to the race during the week. There was about 2 inches of rain that fell earlier this week. They were forecasting for rain yesterday, which really didn't show up until late in the evening, and it's made the dirt absolutely perfect here today. The conditions are epic, and as we pointed out, the action is heating up here early. Jordan Ashburn jumped out to an early hole shot and an early lead, chased feverishly by Josh Strang, who's now taken over that lead, dropped Grant Baylor into the number 2 spot. Cory Buttrick, after a phenomenal ride just a few weeks ago in Ohio, coming back with a vengeance again here today, running third early in this one with Stu Baylor's brother Grant in 4th place early. So that's your top 4 as they run here early. Those of you tuned into GNCC Live, we're going to keep bringing you the action here all day long.
Already a story here, Johnny. You know, always something going down at the final round here in Crawfordsville. First of all, blue skies, amazing weather, unbelievable conditions compared to the last couple of days. Nobody ever figured that we'd be in shirt sleeves, and a lot of people wearing shorts today, that's for sure. But right off the bat, a little drama in the first turn, a couple shakeups right away, and now we've got a changing set of track conditions that nobody really planned on. So once again, drama in Crawfordsville.
Absolutely, you know, and I think a lot of what contributes to that is as this race was shaping up, everybody knows what we're looking at here. This is our, I don't know exactly what mile marker we're looking at, but this is just before the Twin Hills. And the Twin Hills, they're going to come across the bottom, and that creek, although it looks kind of unassuming right now, when these riders hit that, their water is cold, and in places it is deep. We were down there this morning watching the action. We saw riders hit submerged rocks under the water. Next thing you know, they're face first down in the water, and man, their day's ruined, their goggles ruined, their gloves are ruined. So I think the reason we saw so many first-turn pileups in the XC1 and XC2 ranks was all of these guys wanted to get to the front. They don't want to be battling and jimmying for a position through these creek crossings. They want to get to the front. They want to be ones making the lines, not taking what's left. So I think that's a lot of what we've seen thus far. Again, like you said, Jordan Ashburn jumping out to that early lead. I believe he's back in the 5th place spot right now, or 4th place spot, then followed closely by it was Chris Borch and Ryan Sipes, who I think were there in 5th and 6th. So we've got our top 6 through the screen just a few moments ago, and here we watch at the 3-mile marker. Our leaders have already passed that point. I believe the next time we will see them should be possibly at Ironman Hill if we have that feed up and working, and if not, we'll see them soon at the Twin Hills after that. So a lot of action out there. This course is very dynamic. We've been coming here for 21 years now, and the GNCC track crew never ceases to disappoint with putting in a phenomenal racetrack together with all elements of GNCC racing, from mud holes to hill climbs to routes to water crossings to some fast, flowy field sections, which is what we're seeing here. And keep in mind, these fields are farmed during the off-season from GNCC racing, which is the on-season for farming, so they're constantly turned over. This dirt is in prime condition for racing today.
Yeah, the bottom line, Johnny, is this dirt is prepared to grow the food that feeds America, my man. And today we're racing dirt bikes on it. Yesterday we raced ATVs on it. You know, the Shaver family opens that farm up and allows us that pristine dirt. But I can tell you, not just the creek crossings, not just the hills. As you mentioned, it offers everything here at Crawfordsville. You have the routes. We have every bit of elevation change that Indiana has right here on this farm. We do have the creek crossings. Things tend to get a bit rutted, and I can tell you there's also some technical sections through some of the trees out there. So it's hard to find one place that has all these elements, and Crawfordsville does.
Absolutely, and I think that's a big part of the reason why this has become the final round. This is where the championships are decided. This is where things get, all the momentum gets rolling for that long off season we have before we see everybody again in March. So this is really the ultimate GNCC race, not only in terms of obviously the course, which we've talked so much about, but I mean, look around here, folks. If you're not here today, you're really missing out. Those of you at home watching GNCC Live on RacerTV, I'm sure you're going to get a few shots of these hill climbs, of these mud holes, and you've never seen so many mud fleas and so many fans in your life. Crawfordsville, Indiana, the state in general, just loves GNCC racing, and it's such a great facility here. Like you said, the Shaver family opens up its farm, lets us come here for 21 years now, and this event has just continued to grow and grow and grow, and for good reason. Definitely the premier off-road race in the premier off-road series in the world.
You know, a little bit has to do with location, but the rest just has to do with track and atmosphere and presentation of the race here in Crawfordsville. Yes, centrally located at not so long drive for most people. Here, I believe our leaders now, Johnny, working our way down into the creek. Had Josh Strang, as you can see, Johnny, worked his way in a little cautiously right there, not really looking at the guys guiding him and pointing lines to the side. Knew exactly what he wanted to do, and Johnny, he was looking clear across the creek when he entered it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we talked about, you really got to be aware of where your front wheel's going, and that is Jordan Ashburn actually in the second place ride. So we got a little bit of a mistake on my end there. I thought that was Grant Baylor. But what's important to see is when we last saw them on screen, actually, Josh Strang had pulled out probably an upwards of a 10-second lead. Now these guys have really reeled him in, and it looks like Ryan Sipes has passed his way up into that 4th place spot. Now here comes Kris Borch in 6th. We saw Stu Baylor just work his way by in 5th. So there's your top 6 through, and you can see there's a couple of different options here. Kris Borch goes up straight. Now when he gets to the top, he's going to have to make a right and come across. We can see there's another line there to the right, and we'll see where Grant Baylor chooses to go. Looks like Grant is also going to go up that shale rock face. There is another line that goes straight up and actually cuts straight to the trail. So I'm not really sure why these guys are choosing the line that they are, but, you know, again, maybe they've gone down there and taken a look, and they feel that works better for them.
That's possible, but I'm with you. I think that right side and the line that goes straight up to that trail, I just don't think they've really discovered it yet. They might think that there's maybe some obstruction or something, or they're playing a little follow the leader here early in the race. But there we see Bernard taking the right-hand side, making short distance to that back to the trail or back to the track itself, Johnny. And what you're going to see here soon is just like we saw yesterday, this corner down here is going to start getting really deep, and the bikes probably are going to have a little more problem navigating it once the foot pegs start dragging and that kind of thing. And soon it's just going to be carnage and chaos down there, I'm sure, in that corner.
Absolutely, and that's where the fans really come into play. Is, you know, you got to pick which fan you're going to trust, and you can see these guys are kind of right now they're not having any issues. But what's going to happen, as you said, as this section continues to get more chewed out, as they start to have to traverse through lappers, you know, they're really going to have to rely on their spotters. You can see the team guys down there in the creek with all those team shirts on. There we see our XC2 leader, Jason Thomas. Looks like possibly Trevor Bollinger. I'm not sure exactly who that was in second. You know, if I had to guess, I'd say that might be Nick Davis. And the only reason I say that is because every time we see Jason Thomas, we see Nick Davis in the same screenshot.
I got to tell you, Johnny, if you watched our XC2 champ come through there, Jason Thomas came through with that number 1 on, and did you notice him dog paddling all the way around that corner, basically to the base of the hill? Came out of the corner, straightened up the bike, and was still dog paddling, Johnny. So that tells you the greatest riders in the country, our XC2 champ, having some issues with that corner. Man, oh man, that's only going to tell us what's going to happen when some of the less experienced riders start working their way through and start chewing this thing up. When these guys start getting down to the when these guys start getting down to it and they get on the inside of that line, Johnny, I'm telling you, we're going to see problems leading out of this creek.
Absolutely. You know, these guys right now, everybody early in the race is kind of being, I guess we'll say, polite to each other. Nobody's really going to knock each other down unless you look at it from the perspective of they want to try and make a move early. But I can assure you that as this race goes on later, we're going to have a lot of battling going on. And when these guys see an opportunity to go ahead and get on an inside rut and take it away from somebody, they're going to knock each other down. So right now, things are kind of civil. Everybody's playing nice, but we'll see how long that lasts.
I tell you, Johnny, it's going to last until somebody needs that position. That's how civil it's going to be. You know, everybody's going to play nice, but when you get in there and that main line gets taken, and then there's going to be one alternative line, everybody wants that line. I think polite goes out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. And as they're at the 8-mile marker here, from this, they're going to work their way to the top. Obviously, what we see here is the Twin Hills. The next thing we're going to see after that is they're going to work their way out onto the backside of this Ironman MX facility, which has been built here over the last several years to host the final round of MX racing for the Pro National Motocross guys. Also, the ATV MX guys visit this event as well. So there is a national caliber motocross track just above the woods here in the hill where these guys are headed into now. So from there, they'll work their way around to the 9-mile marker. They'll cross the same creek that we see in this shot now at the 8. They'll cross back across. They'll run a big section of fields, and then they'll work their way back onto the Ironman motocross track for the second time, and ultimately work their way into the finish line chicane. So we should see them checking in here, I would say, within the next minute or two for at the finish line and the completion of lap 1. And as we look at the time, it appears we're 24 minutes and 49 seconds, so approaching 25 minutes into this first lap of racing action. The morning race was running about 30-minute lap times. I don't know exactly what the ATV lap times were yesterday, but that being said, with the 25-minute laps, it looks like it would be shaping up to be either a 6 or possibly a 7-lap race. So as we're watching these guys work their way through, now we see some of the back further riders in the XC2 class, also the leaders of our A classes working their way up. all this is making it look so easy as we're joined back now with Rodney Tomlin. But, and there, just as I say it, we see what happens when you don't make it. You have to work your way back down. Looks like Lucas Statham there didn't quite make it up, had to turn around, come back down, and he's going to take another run at another side of Ironman Hill, or I'm sorry, of the Twin Hills.
We did that yesterday too, Johnny. Don't feel bad.
It's tough, when you start talking about these hill climbs here at Ironman. There's so many fans, there's so many people, you get so hyped up, it's easy to forget exactly which hill you're talking about.
Yes, we can, and it's hard to, like I say, keep up with some things. But, yeah, this is the Twin Hills. And as challenging as this hill is, Johnny, the thing about this particular hill is it's got the mud and the water and everything being pulled up on it, but man, there's something to be said about Ironman Hill. It's got the crowd down there, literally thousands of people down there, and it's kind of like its own city and its own world going on right now.
Yeah, and certainly I hope that we can get a live shot of that. I don't know if we have a camera that's actually working down there, but
we got some footage coming in from the NBC Sports crew a little later on that I think will be pretty interesting.
Perfect. So those of you at home waiting, you keep hearing us talk about Ironman Hill. We'll go ahead and explain to you a little bit of what the difference is. Obviously, you see with this hill here, they work their way across a narrow creek that like I said, can be deep in sections. But when they work their way out, you can see all this mud here that wasn't here yesterday morning when they started for the first amateur race. But what happens is they continue to drag water out of the creek. It drips off of the machines, and it creates a soup hole there, and you can see the ruts just continue to get deeper and deeper with each passing bike through there, and that's been happening in the 3 races prior that have already run through this section. Now, the difference is by the time you come out of the creek, run over, turn, and go back up the Twin Hills, we're going to say it's roughly 75 to 100 yards. Ironman Hill is directly out of the creek this year, which means all the water being run off the bikes and off the ATVs yesterday is drugged right onto the face of the hill. You see some people sitting here, which really doesn't quite do justice to how steep these hills are. I jogged up and down them about 4 or 5 times this morning during the morning WXC and amateur race, so I know exactly how steep they are. But the point is, Ironman Hill, you couldn't possibly climb it. You'd have to be on your hands and knees and digging your toes in and digging your feet in, or digging your fingers in. So this hill, as steep as it is and as challenging as it is for many of the riders, doesn't even hold a candle to the famed Ironman Hill. It's straight up, it's rooty, there's water on it, and there's huge prices to pay when you do not make it the first try.
Well, yesterday it seemed like to be a pretty good place over there yesterday. A lot of action going on that. Did you find yourself during the race being able to utilize Ironman Hill straight up, or did you have to choose alternate lines on that one?
I know the majority of the top XC1 guys, we all went up at every lap. I was as far back as 16th or 17th at one point, and we were still all able to make it straight up. There was one lap, it was pretty sketchy. There was 3 of us kind of nose to tail, and I don't remember who exactly it was. Clipped one of the fans at the top, just kind of had to let off the gas and just brush their leg, and kind of caused a little pile up at the top of the hill. So everybody was off the gas and kind of trying to readjust themselves. And the fans, although helpful at sometimes, are just standing in the wrong spot at the wrong time. So it's incredibly steep. Again, this hill you can stand, you can walk on. Ironman Hill, no such luck. It's nearly vertical. You have to get all your speed at the bottom and just rely on your momentum to carry you over the top.
It's pretty amazing, some of the obstacles that are thrown at riders during these GNCCs. But that's what makes GNCC, and that's what it's all about, the variety of different obstacles that you have to incur throughout the course of a 2 or 3 hour race out there. And Johnny, while we got the moment, I know we should be seeing the leaders come to the finish line region here shortly. But before they get here, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you and say that it's a privilege to be sitting alongside a co-team hare scramble champion of the world.
Well, as we see at the 12-mile marker, these guys are checking it up. It looks like we lost that shot. They're actually working their way into the finish line right now. It looks like Josh Strang, but hot on his heels is Ryan Sipes. So Ryan Sipes has worked his way from 6th when we first saw them at the 3-mile marker to now he is knocking on the door of Josh Strang. He's in the number 2 spot, and hot on his heels is Jordan Ashburn in 3rd. So the battle for the podium, unfortunately, you guys can't quite see on screen here right now, is really heating up. These guys are battling wheel to wheel, and they head out onto the Ironman MX track right now, wheel to wheel.
Elapsed time for both first and second place is 29 minutes, 23.12 seconds. Those guys checked in nearly side by side, literally got the same lap time there. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, you would have to understand, obviously, that those are transponder scoring, so depending on where they have their transponder mounted can ultimately determine when it says they cross the line. So it's possible maybe that Josh Strang's transponder is mounted a little bit further back than Ryan Sipes. Now, keep in mind, although they scored the last lap time, obviously Josh Strang was, in fact, Well, actually, they're showing Ryan Sipes in first place. Josh Strang was through the tent first. So that's going to, if that were the finish, Ricky Towery, the GNCC official, makes the call of whose actual machine breaks the plane of the finish line first. So, again, we do have, it looks like Jordan Ashburn now is checked in the 3 spot. Cory Buttrick, again, with a phenomenal ride here early in 4th. Stu Baylor Jr. in 5th. Chris Bach in 6th. Thad Duvall in 7th. And Grant Baylor rounding out the top 8 so far that have checked in here at the completion of lap 1.
Well, good to see Cory Buttrick back up in contention once again. We saw some great rides out of him since he's made that step up to the XC1 class. But this race, or the start of this race anyway, and last race in Ohio, we had more familiar type Cory Buttrick type ride, and we're seeing that early on here in the day today as well. And by the way, Cory is a Team Hare Scramble champion of the world. He and Zach Clamfeth from over in Ohio won that 2-wheel version of that last week, and we had a little local race over there. But still pretty cool off weekend, but a good bit of news for Cory because he got a race win over there, and that's always good for you. And you know, Johnny, it was good for you too on those off weeks to get those wins coming into this last round of the season. Yeah, every time you can build your confidence a little bit with the win, no matter the series, you know, with good competition. Obviously, there was good riders there last weekend. I know Sam Evans, Tristan Landrum. There was a number of XC2 and A riders that are quite fast, and Cory Buttrick, obviously being one of our top XC1 riders currently right now, teamed up with the local A rider, Zach Clamford, and they were able to get the win. You know, Cory really showed his skills there on that slick track. It was fun to watch, and that could really come into play here today because although the dirt's perfect out in the fields, in these woods, if you're not ready for it, man, this hard-packed clay can be awfully slick. And as you pointed out, you know, when you grab that momentum, when you start getting it rolling your way, you know, Cory's really been struggling throughout the last few years after his injury. He's slowly been building momentum, a lot of top 10s in the XC2 class, but here's a guy that has won XC1 in overall races a number of times previously in his career, so a lot of people were thinking maybe he just didn't have it anymore. I wasn't one of those people. No. I know you weren't either, but sometimes you just got to get everything worked out. We've seen that renewed fire ever since he came back at Unadilla. We know that, you know, he has confirmed that he's looking for a ride, he's working on a ride. Will not be back with Beta next year, so he's going to show those guys what he feels they're going to be missing by putting himself up, you know, in the top 5 or potentially on the podium. Well, I don't mean to say anything, but in reality, you look at what he's been able to achieve over the last 3 rounds alone. I mean, I think that says a lot for itself right there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and this is the time of the year where everybody's trying to get their deals inked for next year, and you know, Cory's obviously actively talking to a number of people, I'm sure, and he's really out there flexing his muscle, showing what he's capable of. So I hope he ends up with a good program and a good machine for next year, and we might see Cory Buttrick up there battling for race wins. We might see that yet today. Yeah, it's still up in the air. He's only in the 4th place position. You look at it right now. It says here only 1.6 seconds separated second and third of Sipes now. They've got it adjusted properly. Josh Strang, Ryan Sipes, Jordan Ashburn in 3rd, and then you've got Cory Buttrick 13 seconds back in the number 4 spot, and another 1.9 seconds back is 5th place. Literally within the top, 16 seconds, the top 5 are running within that time frame together. Those top 3 especially are very close nose to tail. Yeah, and what we saw there, obviously, and unfortunately we didn't have it on screen, they were literally battling nose to tail, diving inside each other, rubbing wheels coming through the final turns. So that really shows how much these guys wanted to not only lead that lap, but have the clear vision we talked about earlier. With the creeks, with the mud, you want to be out front. You don't want to be back there eating that roost. The bike gets heavy. Your goggles get trashed. Your gear gets heavy. If you can be out front and the one throwing all the roost, that's a huge advantage. One thing I do need to comment on, we saw Josh Strang get a good start, was up in the top 3 right away, passed his way, got around Jordan Ashburn, got to the lead, and apparently either something happened or he just set a pace early that no one else could match, and he had pulled upwards of 10 to 15 seconds the first time we saw him in the field. Now these guys are right back on him and battling. So Ryan Sipes and Jordan Ashburn obviously put it in their heads. Buddy, not today. We're not letting you get away.
For sure. You know, I mean, that's what we talked about on the starting line there a few moments ago, Johnny. Championships have basically been decided. Positions in the overall have basically been decided. Right now, for these top-tier riders, it's a ride for pride. I mean, they're looking to make that statement for the 2015 season, and as we've mentioned and you've mentioned, this being the end of the season, people are looking for things in contracts, so they are pushing the envelope possibly even harder than they would under normal circumstances, just to try to show their potential if they've got the right kind of support behind them. And this is the type of day that literally anything can happen. You know, I mean, we've had a lot of different winners that come here through the Ironman over the course of time. The first winner, I don't know if you remember that on the two-wheel side of things, Scott Plessinger got the first win here at the Ironman on two wheels back in 1995, and I think that was pretty neat. I was talking with Scott this morning. Actually, he's here today, and we were talking about Aaron's big win at the season finale Lucas Oil Motocross National here back in August, and you know it means a lot to he and Aaron for that to be able to happen like that. He says it was neat to be able to get that first win right here at the Ironman because there is kind of a legacy in this soil amongst them. Absolutely,
you know, and I know Scott have for many years. His son Aaron, obviously, growing up as a GNCC racer, also racing the Amateur Nationals at Loretta's, and then ultimately being a part of that Yamalup Star Racing factory motocross effort where, as you mentioned, he got his win here today, but that family grew up racing GNCC. Scott Plessinger, a champion here in GNCC racing, having won this event before, and those guys don't live that far from here. Obviously, they're down in Cincinnati area. Originally, I think they're relocated down to Georgia now, but originally from the Cincinnati area, and obviously they've grown up racing this soil. They've got a lot of fans in this area, and you know, Aaron Plessinger had quite a bit of success as an XT2 rider, moonlighting here a few years ago when he was away from his amateur national schedule, won some races in XT2, had numerous podiums, so not far-fetched to think that, you know, maybe in the future years, obviously right now he's tied up with contracts. I'm sure those guys don't want him coming out and racing GNCCs on off weekends, but maybe he can convince him after a couple more wins that maybe next year he can come race the Ironman.
Well, here's our leader.
Ryan Sipes is taking over the lead. Look at that. So we knew that they scored him first, but he was physically second. Now he's actually gotten the job completed. He's got the lead. Look how smooth he is in these fields. Ryan Sipes, another rider with a lot of history here. Last year here at the Motocross National, finished third overall. His best 450 outdoor national overall ever, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And riding today, and talking with him, he rode in the UTV race yesterday with his little brother Pooh. They did the side-by-side racing, and talking with him today, man, real light-hearted, real light, airy around the pits. He's pretty excited. Got a really good deal coming up next year as far as a ride. And actually, he said for the next 2 years, he's pretty locked in. He says he's really, really starting to like GNCC a lot, and he would really like to get a win here. And he says this is a place that he feels he could get a win. Number one, because of the success here last year. And number two, he just likes this terrain a lot.
Yeah, you know, and honestly, Rodney, I think it's just a matter of time at this point until we see Ryan Sipes get that elusive win. He's done everything else that he can do short of getting that win. You know, he started out as really, I don't want to say struggling, but, you know, really scrapping just to keep himself inside that top 10 consistently. Had a lot of hit-or-miss races, would be running inside the top 5, would fall way back outside the top 10, and it was just a real yo-yo effect for Ryan in his first year. Then this year we've seen a renewed consistency, you know, still had some off races, but he's learned so much, and his week in and week out, it seems, he is a contender for a top finish, has gotten the podiums, obviously got the top overall gold medal at the ISDE individual overall, which is something no American had ever done before. We've kind of expected to see Ryan almost just kind of waiting until it happens for him to get that win. Well, today, which we have seen him do a number of times, he's pulled up early, taken that lead, wrestled it away from Josh Strang, and now he's flexing his muscle a little bit. We see Josh Strang not let him go, but I got to tell you, I really think that Ryan Sipes may, in fact, have what he needs to get the job done today. Oh, and there we see Kris Borch in the pits. Looks like they're working on his machine. So he had kind of faded back just a little bit. They were working on what appeared to be possibly his brake pedal. So he lost several positions there in the pits and quite a bit of time.
Heartbreaker for the Hoosier native himself right here in the home state. You could hear the cheers of the crowd when we announced his name out there a little bit ago. One of the fan favorites, no doubt, and real heartbreaker to have those problems here. But the good thing about it is he's out quick, so maybe he can get back rolling in good position here. If we look back at the gap from that first lap of racing, he's really only about 30 seconds behind the leader. So in the grand scheme of things, that's not bad after a lap of racing and the way things sort out here at GNCC.
Yeah, well, he was 30 seconds back there and there is Chris Douglas, it looks like. He's in the pits and having a little bit of a discussion with his pit crew, I don't know if he's having an issue with the bike. Looks like they're not really sure what they're going to do. Don't know if he's going to head back out or possibly make some adjustments. I'd like to know what this exchange is saying right now. There's a lot of body language and gestures going on, but not a whole lot really looks like it was accomplished. So Kris is back out and on his way. We'll see what maybe we can get an update a little bit here later to see what the difference between the pit stop for Douglas and Bach was and what all they were doing in there.
All right, Johnny, why don't you run out there and take care of that real quick, and I'll keep an eye on things right here, right now. Get you up to date with everything that's going on as we've got one lap complete. We are 41 minutes now into this race nearly. Josh Strang was leading at the end of lap number 1. It was a freight train between Ryan Sipes and Jordan Ashburn. At last check, last time we saw Ryan Sipes had moved into the number 1 spot. Ashburn was still back in third. Buttrick and Stu Baylor rounded out the top 5. Chris Borch, we saw, went into the pits there a few moments ago. That should have moved Thad Duvall up, the 989. He was running 7th after that first lap. We got to take into account that Duvall actually got off about 14th place, as he was one of about 4 or 5 riders that went down in turn 2. Lost several seconds in trying to get his bike untangled from a couple of other riders and was off and rolling. But considering he was all the way back in about 14th or 15th place up to 7th, you got to say hats off to that young man. A 30-minute and 1-second lap time as opposed to Josh Strang and Ryan Sipes' 29:23 and Jordan Ashburn's 29:24. Duvall could get rolling here today, and we could see some things unfold. Watching some battling going across these big, wide open fields here in Indiana. XC2 riders battling it out up there. Leading in the XC2 Pro Lights class, by the way things are breaking down there, we saw that the number 1, your new champion in the and second-time champion in the XC2 Pro Lights, Jason Thomas, whom I spoke with during the Dunlop pre-race report this morning over in the Pro Pits, and he told me that this looked like it was going to be his final start for GNCC racing competition. Did not have a ride worked out or any hopes or possibilities or prospects of rides as of right now for the future. So he said this looks like this is the end of the line. It all began back here in 2005 for him, 10 years ago. And he wraps it up here in 2015. And kind of a little bit tough pill to swallow, at least for me, seeing how Jason made his way in and the amazing accomplishments he's been able to make in the meantime. But Thomas was leading only about 3.5 seconds over Nick Davis. Jesse Grome was running in the number 3 spot. Craig DeLong 4th. Trevor Bollinger, the 118, was rounding out 5th in the XC2 Pro Lights. Overall, and in the XC1, once again, it is Ryan Sipes followed by none other. And it sounds like we might be having an update coming in. Johnny Gallagher, are you standing by there, buddy?
Yep, absolutely. We're here with Johnny Campbell, JCR Racing team manager, and we saw Chris Borch in the pits here. Looked like that was possibly an unscheduled pit stop. You want to give us an update exactly what was happening here?
Yeah, Chris came in. He needed a pair of goggles, and I made a small shock adjustment to get comfortable and just go back out. You know, guess he wasn't feeling as comfortable as he thought, so hopefully he's got it now, and he can go do what he needs to do.
So sometimes with those mid-race adjustments, and obviously with the chance for him to reset his head, that can actually work in a rider's favor. With him being a home state guy, I'm sure he's got some big hopes for today, and I know you guys want to close out the season strong, so we'll keep updated with you, and hopefully things turn out well for you guys today.
Yeah, thanks, John. It's a long race, and anything can happen from here, so it's not over till checkered flag flies.
All right, well, back to you, Rodney.
All right, thanks a lot, Johnny Gallagher. And with that, Ryan Sipes, Josh Strang, Jordan Ashburn, Cory Buttrick, Stu Baylor, your top 5 on the XC1 and the overall as the Amsoil Ironman GNCC continues. We'll be back with GNCC Live right after this.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
General RV is going to help you go camping with locations across the nation and thousands of RVs to choose from. General RV is the nation's largest family-owned RV dealer. At General RV, you'll save thousands on everything from trailers that sleep the whole family right up to motorhomes that are amazing and so economical to travel in. General RV is the
Synthetic dirt bike oil delivers bulletproof wear protection. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Out front performance.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. About 47 minutes nearly into this race now. Ryan Sipes, Josh Strang, Jordan Ashburn, Cory Buttrick, Stu Baylor, your top 5, as we've got some shakeups going on now. 6th through 10th, as we see that Thad Duvall moves up to 6 now. Grant Baylor will take over the number 7 spot. Takeshi Coweta up to 8th. And that should move Jason Thomas then up to the number 9 spot overall, leading still the XC2 Pro Lights. Of course, we'll know a little more on that when time adjustments are reassessed after they check in with lap 2 complete. We are on lap 2 right now, and 48 minutes into this race, 47 and a half actually, and it's a near 3-hour race that we've got, the series finale, Ironman GNCC, and as we watch this one unfold, a lot of questions as to who's going to win. And I know that everybody seems to have their favorites. Well, we want to know, who are your favorites? Who do you think is going to take the podium today? Tweet your podium prediction finishes to, or podium finish predictions to at hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win $250 in AMSOIL product. Once again, just simply tweet them out. You don't have to be right. You just got to hashtag GNCC Live for a chance to win. Winner will be chosen randomly at the end of today's show. As Johnny Gallagher makes his way back in studio side here. Johnny, interesting points there. Always good to get the word in what's going on there. As tough a break as that was for Kris, that might have been the best move that they could have made, get that bike feel a little more comfortable for him.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of times when a rider makes a mid-race adjustment like that, they may have been expecting anything from different track conditions, or even in this case, he might have been expecting heavier mud, set the bike up a little bit higher, a little bit stiffer, thinking that it was going to pack some weight on with that heavy, sticky mud, realizing that the bike just isn't quite reacting the way that he had anticipated. They're going to make that adjustment in hopes that the 5 to 10 seconds that he spent extra in the pits will pay off for them again later on down the road if that bike's handling better and he's able to make that time up. Also, while I made a trip over there, I did see a few more of our XC1 and XC2 riders have had some setbacks early. Unfortunately, Adam Benner is already in the pits. Didn't get a chance to check in with him. Looked like they were trying to work on that machine, but he had his jersey off. I think he may, in fact, be done for the day. And also, Scott Grills rode past our booth here just a few moments ago, and it looks like he's calling it a day in that XC2 class. So, unfortunately, Ironman, as tough as it is, it's already taken its toll here today.
Certainly is taking its toll on some of the riders at the Ironman. And one thing that I've noticed, Johnny, and I'm sure you noticed, you're sitting here today with a yellow Yamaha shirt versus the normal Blue Crew blue that we oftentimes see, and most of the time see Yamaha riders adorned in. But that's all in celebration, I guess, huh? Yamaha's 60th anniversary.
Yeah, absolutely. The powers that be at Yamaha, they came out with that special edition 60th anniversary units, both on the 2 and 4-wheeled side of things, and actually also on the UTV side. You can purchase that new YXZ 1000 in the anniversary colors, the 60th anniversary edition. So a few years ago, we obviously saw Bill Balance come out and campaign the yellow and black machine for the 50th anniversary of Yamaha here at this race 10 years ago. Oh, and here we see the leaders. Look at these guys, nose to tail is still, and I see a shadow in the background, so I think Jordan Ashburn may be hanging on there as well. We did just see his front fender, so we've still got our top 3 basically nose to tail, and it looks like they're picking the same lineup Ironman. Oh, wait, hold on. We're going to see a pass for the lead right here. Sipes up and around. Josh Strang will be your new leader. Sipes missed that line at the top of the hill. That's the line we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
These guys just aren't seeing it.
Yeah, but it looks like that Strang certainly saw that. And who do we have now in that number 3 spot?
I believe Jordan Ashburn might have gone up the other hill while we were looking at that camera shot. I saw his front fender. I'm certain of that, unless he went down I believe Ashburn still in that number 3 spot. Now we see Cory Buttrick, so that was 4th place was in fact Stu Baylor, and now the 5th place ride of Cory Buttrick. So again, the top 5 still pretty tight. We see Cory Buttrick making the left and going way up that hill now. He's going to have to make a right and come back around. You know, these guys really have missed the good lines here, a number of these guys. We saw the man with the plan with all the good lines at this point was Josh Strang, and when we see him next on camera, unless Ryan Sipes is able to make that pass back again, Josh Strang will be your leader. We could see that at the top of the hill.
Well, talking to Josh Strang, I saw him on Friday and talked to him earlier today in pre-race interviews. Man, I tell you, Josh is on a whole new level. The last few rounds of racing has elevated not only his performance, but I think his mental attitude, knowing what kind of program he's got to work with coming up in 2016. I'm telling you, Johnny, I'm really excited about what next year's GNCC with the return of Charlie Mullins. Caleb Russell will be back, and then Josh Strang for the first time since I think he left, back in like 2011, 2012, will ride the same brand bike for 2 consecutive years. That's something that was really tough on him, but at the same time, I think really proved a lot about Josh Strang, because he was able to make, even though he struggled a little in some of those programs, he was still able to make each one of those programs successful.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he was able to, I believe he got a win on each one of those bikes. I don't think he did get one on the Kawasaki, but he had a number of seconds, I think, but didn't actually grab a win. And then obviously last year got a win on that Ampro Yamaha. This year's already gotten wins on that Husky. And next year we'll be back on that same factory-backed Rockstar Husky. So, again, that confidence, that kind of just that familiarity with the program, with the people he's working with the machine, as you said, really should make him a force to be reckoned with in 2016.
And, of course, we were talking there just a moment ago also about the Yamaha folks celebrating their 60th anniversary. I do want to pass this note along. Yamaha donated $60 for every ATV class championship from the youth to the pro, won by a Yamaha rider yesterday, to the MCFC fundraiser. And if you ride a Yamaha and finish top 10 in the series points, you should have received an email as you got yourself some extra prizes. So they're going all out here this weekend, it looks like, at Yamaha. So we want to tip our hats to them and say happy 60th anniversary to the whole Yamaha manufacturing teams and everybody that's involved there, yourself included, Johnny G.
Oh, well, thank you. It's I'm fortunate to be a part of such a great company and such a great group of people. You know, they really roll out the red carpet, not only for us as the riders, but all the spectators here with the giveaways that they've done throughout the weekend. Nearly everybody that's here you see running around with the 60th anniversary Yamaha beanie on, that black and yellow. And then obviously those guys also, as you said, donating to a very worthy cause with the breast cancer research. And, you know, it's something that's near and dear to many people's hearts. Nearly everybody knows somebody that's been affected by cancer or breast cancer. And awesome to see those guys step up and really do that. You know, they've given so much back to the sport, you know, not only this year, but over the years they've been a successful manufacturer, and like I said, proud to be a part of the company.
For sure. And right now we continue to watch as we still have not reached the 1 hour mark of this race. We're about 54 and a half or so minutes in. Ryan Sipes was out front. They were battling nose to tail, he and Josh Strang. Jordan Ashburn not far off pace either. We saw there at Twin Hills the 8 mile marker, and it looked like that actually Josh Strang had passed back for the lead to get back around Sipes, the 264 machine. We got some open field sections, some moto track sections and things, so this battle has got to be fairly intense right now as they roll their way toward the 12 mile marker right now.
Yeah, you know, and that's one place you would not want to have Ryan Sipes behind you. Josh Strang, obviously an avid motocrosser. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, finished inside the top 20 in a moto at Unadilla a few years ago. But nonetheless, Ryan Sipes, you know, a prolific name in motocross and supercross, has won light supercrosses, has finished on the podium in outdoor nationals in the big boy class. You know, this is a guy that knows his way around a moto track, even if it is backwards like we're running it here this weekend.
Oh, that's going to throw him way off. Way off. Oh, by the way, I believe that Josh Strang also finished a top 20 there at Redbud as well. So he does have a pretty good motocross background behind him and dabbling in it, so to speak. Right now, as we watch, we are approaching 56 minutes. A couple of a couple of history notes for you as far as the Ironman is concerned. You know, the first bike Ironman race was held on October 29th, 1995, and was won by Hamilton, Ohio's Scott Plessinger. Rodney Smith has won the Ironman 5 times. He was a 5-time GNCC champion as well, and he won here 5 times, and that's more than any other bike rider. He won in 1996, 97, 98, 02, and 03. The only rider that has him bested on more wins is, guess who? Kris Borch. He has 7 wins right here from the ATV side of things. His win streaks began back in 2006.
Yeah, Kris has been dominant at this track over the years. You know, even the years that he had the championship wrapped up, he was always, you know, this is a track that just really fit his style, fit his flow. It's a fast track. It gets incredibly rough. I was talking to some of the WXC riders when they came off after this morning's race, and you know, Becca Sheets and a few of the others just said number one, they couldn't believe how many lappers there were. I don't know how many riders there were this morning, but I heard
770.
770. I think that nearly matches last year to the number almost. You know, it's crazy. You know, like we talked about earlier, Indiana, the state, as spectators, as racers, as fans, they just love GNCC racing. They love off-road racing. Have a number of great local series here, from the IXCR to Midwest Cross Country. You know, there's so many local series here in Indiana that breed cross-country racers, and you know, it really shows in an event like this where you have such great, phenomenal turnout. But at the same time, that really leads to things like what we see here, is we see this hole coming out of the creek. We see these big chop. These guys are working their way through. This track is getting rough. It's been beat to death since 8 a.m. yesterday morning with our first youth ATV race, followed by our amateur ATV race.
No. That was followed by the Polaris Ace race at 9 o'clock.
I'm sorry about that. Forgot about that one. Then we had the amateur ATV race at 10 o'clock. Then we had the pro ATV race at 1 p.m. Then we had the UTV race at 5 p.m.
It was, something like
that. And then after
95 UTVs showed up there. Yes, that starting line was packed.
Yeah. And then it just started all over again this morning with the same schedule. 8 a.m., 8:15 a.m. youth race, 10 a.m.
Nearly 200 youth motorcycle pilots today.
Phenomenal turnout this weekend. You know, like we said, obviously, I think the spectators last year were a little bit crazier. There was so many people here last year, but then again, that was probably attributed partially to the 70-degree temperatures. This year, the temperature's down just a tad, but for anybody that's here, you're enjoying great weather. As we talked about, nothing like what the weather forecast had predicted. Absolutely beautiful out right now. Sun is shining. It's warm. Everybody's down to their T-shirts. And as much as it's heating up outside, the action continues to heat up out on the track.
Oh, it's only just begun as far as the action on the track, Johnny. And joining us here in the booth right now, I would like to welcome Miss Sasha Clements, as Sasha is Josh Strangwell. As Josh makes his way here, we are at mile number 12. This is the finish line. Look at this. We got a nose-to-tail battle continuing now as we roll onto the motocross track. So rounding these final few turns, it's still the 264 of Ryan Sipes out front. Back to the number 2 spot is Josh Strang, but he's showing that wheel in and out of every one of these turns. Still looking back there for the number 3 ride. I think that is still Ashford. I'm not sure how far back the number 3 ride has faded, but it doesn't appear to be a whole lot at this point, as third place now checks in as well in that retrofitted yellow Yamaha there, the yellow and black that is being adorned here. And we reassess the situation with Ashburn still in the number 3 spot. The gap now only 9.6 seconds. The gap between Sipes and Strang now is 0.844. Stu Baylor does check in the number 4 spot. He is 8.8 seconds back in the 4th place position. And at last check, Cory Buttrick was running in the number 5 position. We'll see if he's had any issues since the 8-mile marker, when we saw that he had dropped from 4th to the number 5 spot. It could indicate some sort of an issue that may be arising, and it has, as Thad Duvall has gotten around and now takes over the number 5 spot. He's 25 seconds behind Stu Baylor. So that puts him about 45 seconds out of the lead right now. Looking at lap times, a 29.55 and a 29.56 for Ryan Sipes and Josh Strang. You look all the way back to Thad Duvall. He turned a 30-minute.9, just over the 30-minute mark, just barely. That's only about 5 seconds slower than Sipes and those guys. They've got a free racetrack ahead of them. Thad Duvall is trying to go through some of these other riders and make passes, and he's still turning those kind of lap times. You got to wonder if Thad can get some free racetrack. Will he be able to make up more time, and will we see him vying for a podium and quite possibly even a win, as we are just now crossing the threshold of 1 hour into this Ironman GNCC here in 2015. So we got Sipes, Strang, Ashburn, Baylor, Duval, your top 5. Cory Buttrick does check in now in the number 6 spot. He drops his lap time to a 30-minute, 32-second time, so something evidently going on there. Grant Baylor is now the 7th place ride. And back in the number 8 position is the number 12 in his final campaign as a GNCC racer here, Takeshi Coweta, the former JNCC champion. That's the Japanese cross-country champion, a former motocross and supercross racer, great from Japan, tackled the United States as a younger man, came over after a illustrious career in the JNCC series in 2012, and raced 2012 season, 13, 14, and now here in 15. So 4 years, he brought his little girl and his wife over for several years. They made a home here and made a lot of friends, and he is certainly going to be one that is going to be missed as far as GNCC racing is concerned. An hour and 2 minutes now into this race right now, and as we roll through this one, we keep talking about this one being the pink race. You see the pink backgrounds on everything. Well, we are joined here today with Stacey Clements, as we were saying, now from the MCFC, which is the Montgomery County Free Clinic, I think is what they call it, formerly known as
Faith Alliance.
Faith Alliance. That is, you are right about that. I was just testing you. But Faith Alliance is an organization that we, with the GNCC Racing Nation, teamed up with a few years ago to help support breast cancer awareness with the pink race and everything with the local community. And Stacey, you've been a big part of that pretty much since the inception of us doing this race, I think.
That's right. Yeah, Faith Alliance was a local nonprofit for about 10 years. We started coming when the race started turning pink. And you were gracious enough to let us talk to the crowd and remind everybody about breast cancer awareness and seeing their doctor and what October was all about, saying thank you to everybody for wearing pink and showing their support. And this year, we were pleased to receive a check for $7,600, and that'll go to the Montgomery County Community Foundation. Faith Alliance has a fund there, and that fund will be available to disperse out to nonprofits in our community.
Tell the folks what you do. Mammograms for free for folks.
Yes.
I know that, and you help in a lot of other ways as well.
Yes. Faith Alliance was able to help people in any way they needed when they were going through breast cancer treatment. And through our partnership with the Montgomery County Free Clinic and our fund at the Community Foundation, we're able to carry on that mission, help with free mammograms, wigs for people who need it, and other services that they might need when they're going through treatment for breast cancer. All the money stays here in Montgomery County in our community to help our friends and family and neighbors that we're surrounded with that might be suffering.
Well, we're proud to be able to help out, and I'll tell you what, more than anything, we're really proud and ecstatic what you've been able to do for this local community, and hopefully we can see more organizations like this pop up. But more importantly, through cancer awareness and research and things like that, hopefully we can get people to get it ahead of time, get treated if it does become available, and maybe one day this awful dreaded disease will be a thing of the past.
We can only hope. And when Tim gave us the check, he said we were part of the GNCC family whether we liked it or not. So we're looking forward to many more years of coming here and seeing the race turn pink, and we're just so appreciative and humble for the generosity of everybody who gave donations and what the GNCC family has been able to do to help us in our community. So thank you.
Thank you. Stacey Clements, ladies and gentlemen. She is here with the Faith Alliance and the Madison County Free Clinic that helps out so much around the area, and we are proud to help out in every and any way that we can too. Thank you very much. And right now, rolling on an hour and 5 minutes into this race, Ryan Sipes continues to lead Josh Strang, Jordan Ashburn in the number 3 spot, Stu Baylor in 4th. Thad Duval has now moved up to 5th. If you're just joining us, Thad Duval tangled in a second turn crash with about 4 or 5 other riders. He was one of the last ones to get up of the 17 riders in the XC1 Pro class. I think he got up 14th and was able to make his way into the woods. At the end of lap number 1, he moved into the 7th place position. He is now up to the number 5 spot and rolling with a full head of steam right now. He is looking at a 24-second gap between himself and Stu Baylor, and another 9 seconds or so to Jordan Ashburn, and only another second to Ryan Sipes. So when you start doing the math, he's right there in that 30-second range, and with still 2 hours of racing left to go here at the Ironman, there's still a lot of room for change, and still a lot of possibility that Thad Duvall could find his way to the podium and possibly even to the center of the box here for the first time at Ironman. And not his first win by no stretch of the imagination, but would be the first time he ever won at a racetrack that his father also won at on an ATV back in 1999. As far as some of the other classes, in particular the XC2 Pro Lights class, how things are starting to shape up there. Just to give you an FYI, and at the last check, Jason Thomas was running the lead in that class. He was not only running the lead in that class, but he was also running a 10th place overall position. As Johnny Gallagher joins us back here in the broadcast booth. Johnny, you look like you might have found out some pretty cool things, man.
Yeah, I was actually over there at the finish line, saw Jason Thomas working his way through, caught the tail end of the XC1 pack, and then saw the XC2 guys come through. Jason Thomas, Trevor Bollinger, though, a rider that's been struggling here as of late, was on Jason Thomas's rear wheel, and Jesse Grom not far behind. So those guys are actually, yeah, it was Jesse Grom that was in third.
Yeah.
So as we see up, and we're here at the 3-mile marker, Ryan Sipes now still in the lead. Again, we saw Josh Strang make the pass at the top of the Twin Hills. Obviously, Ryan Sipes putting either his motocross skills or his grass track skills to good use, getting that lead back. But Strang is really hanging tough here. He's kind of hanging on the rear wheel of Sipes, letting Sipes do all the leading, letting him do all the thinking. And that might be a good strategy for Strang as they work their way into lappers here in just a little bit.
No doubt about that. And we were looking at that XC2 Pro Lights there just a second ago. Thomas was first, as you said. You mentioned Trevor Bollinger. Here's something about Bollinger. At the end of lap 1, he was running about 7th place in that XC2 Pro Lights class. So he's really making some gains here on lap 2, it looked like, and now lap 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And Trevor Bollinger really looked like he was on a mission, Rodney. You know, he was hard on the gas. He was charging. Jason Thomas obviously always really hard on the gas. But Trevor Bollinger was the man on the mission out of those two, in my opinion. And we see another rider on a mission. You know, we've got obviously Sipes and Strang nose to tails. They should be working their way into the VP Fuels Pro Row just about any second. And there we see, there is Ryan Sipes, hot on his heels. Josh Strang. Now watch just a little bit further back. A rider that really is not getting shook loose from this lead group is Jordan Ashburn.
Ashburn out with a mission today, I think, as well, as we see that the normal 2-lap stop is coming into play for Josh Strang. It looks like it's, I believe, is that him? Yep, I believe so.
And we're going to have a new leader, Rodney. Jordan Ashburn does not pit, gets out with the lead. Josh Strang out in second. Ryan Sipes down in third. So we basically inverted our top 3 with Josh Strang, Ryan Sipes coming in the lead, leaving in third, and obviously those guys shaking it up exactly opposite.
Wow, pretty interesting right there. And what a good time right now for Jordan Ashburn to take over the lead. The track is good and lined in. They've had a couple laps to basically feel it out for themselves. And these are times when this young man can really stretch his legs, especially if he can get a little speed out there out front before they reach that lap traffic.
Yeah, you know, and Jordan Ashburn's pit board said sprint, pit next. In other words, what his crew was telling him is, hey, we're getting you the lead. Now what you do with it is up to you. So we're going to see if Jordan Ashburn can do exactly that. Sprint, pull away from Josh Strang and Ryan Sipes, and potentially gain himself enough time that he can still maintain the lead after pitting next lap. It's going to be tough to do, but Jordan looks pretty determined.
You know, it's amazing. You know, you get down to the fact and you start looking at racing action and you think about speeds and who's faster and this, that, and the other. And oftentimes, Johnny, you know as well as I do, it's not only speed that comes into play with it. It's a great pit and a great strategy coming into the race day. So pitting strategies can sometimes be very monumental in racing, and oftentimes can be the hinge on whether or not you're able to play the cards right to get the wins and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there's so many things that factor in, obviously, into GNCC racing. You know, this race is going to be a little bit straightforward with pit strategy just because of the fact that we're running roughly 30-minute laps. So with that being said, these guys are now out on their third lap, and it's looking like it will obviously, if all things being considered, turn out to be a 6-lap race. So these guys that have, pitted after 2 are going to have to pit one more time. Those that are pitting in 3 might be able to pit only once. So here we see, looks like Stu Baylor did stop and get a splash of fuel, and I believe he is riding a 250cc 2-stroke this weekend. I didn't see his machine before the race, but that probably factors into his pit strategy. Well, look who's now hot on his heels chasing after that 4th place position, none other than the man that was on the ground in the first turn, Thad Duvall. So Bad Thad, as you pointed out, hard on the gas, hard on the charge, and is now charged his way up to the rear wheel of Stu Baylor.
I got to say something about a lot of these guys. I mean, I've seen some really lighthearted attitudes and some determination in some of those guys, but probably none, I don't know, were more determined than what we saw out of Josh Strang and I'm going to say as well Thad Duvall. Josh, obviously, we know he's determined, and we realize that oftentimes Thad seems to be determined as well, but today's determination really seemed to be as thick as any as I'd ever seen. It was a lighthearted but very serious at the same time. It's really hard to explain it, but I go back and just basically rely on the word that I think kind of explains a lot of the progression in GNCC, and I think it's simply the maturity that we're seeing Thad develop throughout the course of this season. Plus, the confidence of knowing he's got that same solid program or one near the same to head into in 2016.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've seen so much speed out of Thad over the years. You know, we've seen him, I believe he's actually won this race before, as a matter of fact, and it was either 2011 or 2012. There's been a number of guys that have said, you know, Thad Duvall, just a matter of the cards falling his way for him to win a championship. Well, this year he took huge strides. Obviously, his best year ever in points in terms of where we're at this point in the season. And for him to do that at this point in his career obviously shows that, like you said, Rodney, he's got that newfound consistency, that newfound determination, and it's really paying off here for Thad today. So as we check in with the top 10 in our XC1 class, it looks like, obviously leading the way, it was, in fact, Ryan Sipes leading the way, Josh Strang in second, Jordan Ashburn in third, Stu Baylor in fourth, Thad Duvall in fifth, showing 24 seconds back of Stu Baylor for those of you watching at home. But as we last saw on screen, Thad has pushed his way right up to the rear wheel of Stu Baylor. Cory Buttrick in the sixth place spot, solid ride for that rider out of Logan, Ohio. Grant Baylor in seventh, Takeshi Coweta having a solid ride there in the eighth place spot, followed by Chris Bach in ninth and Chris Douglas in 10th. So despite that early race pit that we weren't exactly sure what Chris Douglas was doing, he is still holding on to a top 10 position. And what we're seeing on screen right now is a battle for the lead, I believe, in that XC2 class. And that is, looks like Jason Thomas leading with Jesse Grom in second. And I don't know, that may in fact be Trevor Bollinger there in the third place spot. These guys, we just saw them both in the pits, and when they left, it was Grom leading the way. So it looks like now Jason Thomas has taken back over that lead, unless Trevor Bollinger has already made his way through that shot and we missed him. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll check back here. That looks to be, that is Craig DeLong there, so that is our fourth place rider. I believe if we look at our XC2 standings, when they came through the finish last lap, it was, yes, Craig DeLong was in that fourth place spot, and it looks to still be there unless assuming that we missed Trevor Bollinger.
Well, you know, you were talking there just a second ago, and we keep mentioning, and for some reason the name just keeps popping out at me, and it's going to be tough to see this one go because he has really become, I think, an integral part of the fabric of GNCC racing. And right there in the pits, Travis Coy visiting from the West Coast out on the work series out there today with the KTM folks. Glad to have him as a part of it. But the rider that I'm talking about is the eighth place ride. Some of his best finishes in GNCC have come right here at the Ironman itself. And I'm talking about none other than the Japanese cross-country former champion in Takeshi Coweta as he made his final farewell start today. And this is his farewell race here at the Ironman GNCC in American Racing, and we had a chance to catch up with Takeshi to talk with him heading into today. Here today with one of Japan's top motocross off-road racers in the world. Of course, he conquered Japan several years ago and then set out on a mission to go out and basically try the rest of the world and see exactly what they had to offer. Takeshi, you've spent a lot of time on and off here in the United States. Several years ago, you made your way over as a professional motocrosser. Tell me about that.
Yes, I just want to, try best I can do, try to hear, and U.S. racing is amazing. So.
Well, tell me a little bit about what happened during your racing whenever you were racing American motocross. That was pretty good, huh?
Yes, it's been, a long time ago. I'm very, it's young, so I tried Supercross and motocross, and
We'll talk about Talk about the JNCC and then why and how you made it to the United States to race the Grand National Cross Country.
Well, yeah, I got champion over there a couple times, and yeah, I know, U.S. people, a lot of fast rider here, so I just want to, try best I can do, and how I get, how my position I want to check, so I just want to try.
Tell me about your GNCC racing experience.
Well, it's everything's different in Japan here, and big track and many fast rider here, and it's amazing. It's a race.
So, have you learned a whole lot in the time here? Did you accomplish what you'd hoped to accomplish?
Yes.
Tell me how you feel going into your last day race today. How does that make you feel?
Well, it's very sad, but yeah, should be good. I mean,
what are you going to do whenever you go back to Japan?
I go back and maybe I help, GNCC, racing over there. So I just help, start something.
And I guess it'll be good to see the family again too, huh?
Yes, sure, yes.
Well, Takeshi, thanks for being a part of the GNCC for the last few years. We've really enjoyed your tenure here, and we wish you the best.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, farewell, Takeshi, and good luck. I'm really hoping to see an exceptional ride and maybe his best ride and performance here today. It was pretty neat to get to say farewell to him during opening ceremonies today as well and introduce him. And now as we pick back up, Johnny, and we're watching the 8-mile marker right now, but big news coming in the meantime is that we got another lead change, and Josh Strang at Ironman Hill has gotten around Jordan Ashburn, and Ryan Sipes back in the number 3 spot, but they are still right there, nose to tail, battling one another. These three have been in a major slugfest basically since lap number 1, Johnny. Man, these guys have got to really be pushing some limits out there, and I imagine when this day is all said and done, they're going to realize all 3 of those hours that they just raced.
Yeah, absolutely. With Jordan Ashburn grabbing that lead early, and then Josh Strang able to wrestle it away from him, and actually, as we talked about, pull a little bit of a gap. Then it was Ryan Sipes, who was on the charge from much further back in the pack, who worked his way up to the rear wheel of Josh Strang, eventually taking the lead away. But another thing that he did was he threw out a tow rope to Jordan Ashburn and brought him with him. So Strang had pulled away, and then when Ryan Sipes bridged the gap, Jordan Ashburn came with him. So Jordan Ashburn has kind of been the tow rider at this point. Then he actually made that power move to take the lead at the end of lap 2 when those riders pitted. And now that he did have the lead, it appears Josh Strang, either on a better line or possibly just with a little bit more drive up that very slick, very rooty Ironman hill, has wrestled back away that lead. So we've had 3 different leaders in less than 3 laps, and it's really been exciting racing so far, and I expect to see it go the distance just this way with these guys really slugging it out, like you said, for another 3 laps to come.
Well, 2 laps are down, working on lap 3, and lap times were in the 29:55, 29:56, basically right around that 30-minute mark for the majority of your top 10 riders there. So just good, consistent laps. You can see that some are getting a little bit more some advantages somehow, somewhere out there. My big question, though, is right now, how much time is Thad going to be able to make? Is he still able to push? Is he having any struggles, any problems or anything now? And are they reaching any lap traffic now, Johnny, that it would be any significance that should cause them any problems, you would think, at this juncture in the race?
Well, certainly lap riders always factor into any race, but in this afternoon race, obviously, with the there's not as much of a speed disparity as there is in some of the earlier and amateur races. Obviously, in the morning, you have your your top 45-plus riders and your pro women's riders who are running speeds approaching XC1 and XC2 speeds on certain tracks, and then you've got C riders and first-year racers, and the number of riders, as we said, approaching 800 riders this morning. So we've done the math in the past at I believe it was Unadilla, where we figured out there at one race we had a rider averaging every 31 feet on the track. So there was a distance gap of 31 feet between the riders as they were working their way around. So it doesn't give you a whole lot of, and it looks like Jordan Ashburn has taken the lead back from Josh Strang. So as they come to the bottom of the Twin Hills, it is the number 3 Ampro Yamaha of Jordan Ashburn out front leading the way in those retro colors, that 60th anniversary. Ashburn goes to the left. Now here's what's going to be interesting to see. Josh Strang takes a gamble, goes up to the right, and Ashburn is able to get across because we could see Strang was not able to take that straight up line. He had to make the left at the top of the right hill. So now we're waiting to see, did we miss Ryan Sipes, or did he come by off camera there?
Well, we'll be watching and waiting. We did have the report at last check. He was back in the number 3 spot. Didn't say necessarily how far, but I thought that the report said that they were still. Sipes was all the way to the left out of our shop is what they're telling us now from out in the field, Johnny. So Sipes is still right there. We just didn't catch him on the cameras.
And here we see Thad Duvall, and hot on his heels, there is Stu Baylor. So those two have swapped. We have now, it's Thad Duvall who's taken over the 4th place ride, and he's the rider on the move, trying to bridge the gap and get up with that top 3. Oh, and you can see a little bit of trouble for Duvall there as he kind of stumbles on a Don rider's bike. He goes to the left. Stu Baylor's going to go to the right. Now we're going to find out which of these two lines. There we see Duvall coming across the top. There goes Baylor. Baylor makes the pass.
Baylor got him right there, and it seemed to be probably a second or so faster, and a second don't seem like a whole lot until you look at it right there, Johnny. It's about 40 feet, 30, 40 feet or something like that, it looked like.
Absolutely. It's just that little bit is all the difference it takes to get that position back. Now here we see the battle between what would be over the 6th place spot between Grant Baylor there on the retro-colored Ampro Yamaha and Cory Buttrick on that Beta. So that's your 6th and 7th place riders as they work their way to the top of the Twin Hills, both taking that favorable right line straight to the top of the hill, up with no problems at all here on lap 3.
Well, there you have it. We see the race unfolding before our very eyes as Jordan Ashburn has regained the lead. Josh Strang in 2nd. Ryan Sipes is in 3rd. And Stu Baylor and Thad Duvall nose to tail. Actually, Duvall is up to 4th, and Baylor is hot on his rear wheel, or was, and made the pass right there. So we see that changes taking place right before our very eye. The interesting thing will be to see, Johnny, whether or not Thad gets back around Stu by the time they reach the 12-mile mark.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys have been back and forth, and, when we last saw when they checked in at the end of lap 2, it was a 24-second gap, as we pointed out. Thad Duvall, by the time they made it to the 2-3 mile marker, wherever it is that the VP Fuels Pro Row is, he was on the rear wheel of Baylor when they left the pits. But keep in mind, we don't know if Thad Duvall pitted. I'm assuming probably not on the first lap, which means he's going to have to pit this lap. Stu Baylor will not, because he pitted last lap. So even if Thad Duvall is able to work his way around for that 4th place spot, it's likely that we may see them swap back yet again when they work their way through VP Fuels Pro Row. There's the former GNCC champion on screen that we've talked about. We just got to see that great little interview with him and the going away party with the cake. Obviously, Takeshi Coweta having a great ride out there, currently in the 8th place position. He's a little ways back of that battle for 6th, but anything can happen here, still with quite a bit of racing left. There we see the number 9 running in the 9th place position, Kris Borch. Apparently, whatever changes they made in the pits, not exactly paying off here for him so far. We'll have to see if he can continue to grind, as we're about an hour and 24 minutes into this one. So not quite halfway yet, but approaching that halfway point. And we haven't seen the leader, and we did miss Trevor Bollinger. So there is a new leader in the XC2 class, and it's the man in all white on that Honda, and it is, in fact, Trevor Bollinger leading the way in the XC2 class. So you pointed out he was back in 7th at the end of lap 1, worked his way all the way up to the rear tire of, no, that's not Jason Thomas there. I thought it was. So not only is Bollinger taking over the lead, but he's put a gap between himself and Jason Thomas and Jesse Grom, who are battling over that 2nd place position now.
Wow. And
there, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Rodney, but there is Jason Thomas aggressively charging his way into that inside rut, knowing that he needed to take the aggressive line to try and make up time and get through those lappers. Looks like he has shaken Jesse Grom. No, there is Grom. Grom's still behind him. And now we see exactly what these Twin Hills are made of. Here's some lap riders not making it up. And those are basically, at this point, rolling obstacles for the upcoming XC1 and XC2 riders.
Johnny, we've seen Takeshi Coweta going through there a moment ago, and it brings back that memory. We were talking about Takeshi leaving the championship. We said farewell yesterday to Chris Bithell as he finished 3rd place on the podium. And we also will be saying a farewell to a few other folks. Jason Thomas could quite possibly be one of those. And Another one is one of our WXC featured riders, and we're talking about Jessica Patterson, who stepped into GNCC racing after an illustrious and immaculate motocross career, X Games gold medals, things like that, just accomplishing more things and bigger things than any woman had ever accomplished on a motorcycle. She came to GNCC racing, won her first ever GNCC, and then became a part of the GNCC Racing Nation and fabric. Over the course of the past summer, she and her longtime boyfriend and mechanic got married, Eddie Ray, and now they are moving to a new chapter in their life. And Jessica Patterson also will be stepping away after this weekend's event of racing, and we say so long and farewell to her as well. And the RacerTV crew actually got a chance to catch up with her also.
You know, it started off when I was about 7 years old. My dad rode a little bit, so I just kind of wanted to ride with him, and you know, just started riding every day after school, and my dad and mom thought it was kind of just a fling, and it ended up just being full time, and you know, started going racing and raced you know, 52 weekends out of the year, and it's just something I've always loved to do, and so I just started doing it, and then went to Loretta Lynn's and stuff and did all right. In 16 I won my first championship, and then that was like in '99, and then after that I did a couple pro races and I won those. So in 2000 was my first full year pro, and I won that. And you know, I've been it's been a long journey. I won 7 championships in that, and you know, I won over 40 amateur championships, and it's been a long road. But then, you know, I retired from that. I just wanted to do something different, and I went and tried a couple off-road races, and I just really liked it. It's something different, and just I wanted to kind of step back and not race moto anymore, and like I said, just try something different, and I fell in love with it. And you know, it's been two and a half, 3 years now that I've been doing it, and I've had a blast. It's been really fun, and you know, I just think I'm not getting any younger, so I figured want to have a family, me and Eddie, and do something a little bit different than riding full time. So I'm not just going to be cold turkey, never see me again. I'll be around, but yeah, just kind of take a step back and live life a little bit more, and you know, hopefully have a family one day.
Well, there you go, Johnny. End of another illustrious career, but the beginning of something new, a new chapter in her life, as you mentioned there, her and Eddie wanting to start a family. And I know I was talking with Eddie at the Outdoor Motocross National here at Ironman, the season finale here, and Jessica had actually raced that motocross race here at Ironman, and he was telling me that that's what they were looking forward to doing, was starting a family. And he said, "Don't you think I'd be a pretty good dad?" And I was like, "Bud, you know what? I don't think you're going to find any better dads than Eddie Ray out there. He's a big a kid as any of them, but at the same time, man, I mean, he's got his head screwed on straight, and I wish them the best, that's for sure."
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a great couple, great people. You know, Jessica, as you pointed out, had an illustrious career in the WMX Women's Professional Motocross Series, a number of championships over the years. It's been enjoyable to watch her race and bang bars with the top off-road ladies in the world here the last 2 or 3 years, what it's been now. And, you know, sorry to see her go, but again, sometimes in life it's time to move on to that next chapter, and I'm sure they won't be strangers. I'm sure we'll see them around. One thing that we're seeing around right now, coming around the final corners, is Jordan Ashburn still in the lead there. So he's actually, it looked like, and Ryan Sipes there. So Sipes right back onto the rear wheel of Strang. Obviously was just out of camera shot. So these guys, 3 laps of race. Oh, look at that. Sipes sticks the rear or front wheel in on Josh Strang there. So these guys are really hard on the gas, even after 3 laps of racing. They're no further apart than they were after 1 lap.
That is, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen battling like this in the XC1 Pro class, where these guys are nose to tail like this at the halfway point of this race, an hour and 29 and a half minutes into this one now. And literally, you look at the official time, I think we're going to be kind of shocked and surprised, because it may have even looked closer than what time is going to tell us. But last time around, there were 0.8 of a second that separated Sipes and Josh Strang, when Ryan Sipes was actually leading there at the end of lap number 2. But at the end of lap number 3, well, and Jordan Ashburn, by the way, was 9.6, almost 10 seconds behind him. So not making that pit stop was something that certainly helped him out. The question is, though, wasn't able to sprint and spread things out. So when they head to the pits this time, that advantage he gained last time, Johnny, all of a sudden he's right back to square one.
Here's another question. Where is Thad Duvall? We're watching the finish line chicanes. We just saw Grant Baylor. Did we see Thad Duvall check in and I missed him on screen? We saw Stu Baylor just work his way through in the 4th place position.
No, he's in. Duvall was 8.6 seconds behind Stu Baylor. Baylor running 53 seconds behind Ryan Sipes in 3rd.
Okay, so now we see Stu Baylor back into that 4th place spot based on the pass that we saw on the Twin Hills. He took that more direct line up the right-hand side all the way to the top. And it seems as though Thad Duvall has not been able to close that gap, which we had expected based on the way they had been riding previously. Now here we see Cory Buttrick has gotten away from Grant Baylor. Grant Baylor was actually ahead of Cory when we saw them at the 9-mile marker there at the Twin Hills. Now Cory back around Grant Baylor, and it looks like he shook him loose. So I believe that would put him in the 6th place position all alone.
Wow. So, man, seeing him rise to the occasion like this against Grant Baylor, and we know this is the time when the sparks start to fly for GB, because he really starts to get really, really fast at this particular point in the race. And for Cory to be able to stretch it out right there, that's pretty impressive to say the least.
Yeah, Cory's been riding really well lately, as we've talked about so many times these last couple races. Just seems like a renewed attitude, a very positive attitude and outlook on, hey, I can do this. I've done it before. I'm going to do it again. And, you know, he's been smiling a lot. He's been having a good time, and it's really translating into some phenomenal rides on the race course for him.
Most certainly is, as we watch the results right now. Ashburn, String, Sipes, that's the way they came through. Baylor 53 seconds back. Duvall another 8.6 seconds back in 5th. Cory Buttrick, Grant Baylor. Don't know if he's checked in all the way yet. I'll try to get that. My computer's running kind of slow. There's Baylor coming in now. By the way, top amateur, we normally try to mention them at this particular point. And Vance Francis from Bonnyman, Kentucky, your 258 class leader, is running 18th place after 2 laps there, 18th place overall. So we'll be keeping an eye on that 258 class rider to see whether or not he's able to make things happen out there here at the Ironman. We're taking a look at your midway report coming up here in just a few moments, but right now we continue to watch the finish line, Johnny Gallagher, and
here comes Takeshi Coweta and Kris Borch. So that would be our 8th and 9th place riders working their way through finishing, completing lap 3 and taking out on lap 4. They're just, looks like Takeshi was only, 39 seconds behind. Oh, no, that was at the end of lap 2. As they check in at the end of lap 3, 31 seconds behind Grant Baylor. So again, that gap about 30 seconds back from those guys. And we should see our leaders in XC2 checking in, and I believe that was Trevor Bollinger we just heard roll through the finish line. Actually, they're showing Jason Thomas ahead of him, but I'm certain I just saw Trevor Bollinger, maybe his transponder not yet working.
Well, that hasn't it hasn't
That's
updated.
the end of lap 2.
Yeah, our computer's
because here comes Jason Thomas. Bollinger has checked in, his transponder not registered. There it is now.
Bollinger checks in 7th place overall aboard the 118. Talk about a big jump right there, man. I mean, he not only jumped up into the #1 spot, we've seen this kid on a major terror today. Jason Thomas was running 10th place overall at the end of lap 2. He moves all the way up into 7th place overall. Bollinger on that 118 there in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Wow, he's got a 20-second lead, 19.9 second lead over Jason Thomas now. Jesse Grom, though, only 1.9 seconds back behind Jason Thomas, so he's keeping old JT pretty honest right now. And, of course, right now watching the racing action unfold here as we're an hour and 35 minutes basically into this race. We will be checking in with the midway report brought to you by your friends at Midstate Chevrolet coming up here in a few moments. Looking out and about out of our GNCC or in RacerTV.com studios here. Crowd seems to be pretty satisfied with the action. Lots of folks down around Ironman Hill. We see that things are somewhat busy still at Twin Peaks as well here on a Sunday afternoon. See a lot of shifting around by a lot of the different race fans. That's one thing they've come to love, the different places that they have available to them here at the Ironman GNCC. So some changes there after lap 3. More so, it seems, in the XC2 Pro Lights than anything right now. Trevor Bollinger is going to be certainly one rider we want to keep an eye on as we wait for our leaders to check in here at the 3-mile marker. When we were last with them, we saw that they were literally within the 3 of them within a 2-second time frame, a second and a half actually, according to timing and scoring. But again, I have to think by looking at how close they were, they seemed a lot closer visually. But regardless, they were tight, and we'll find out whether or not Jordy Ashburn able to stretch things out, because now's the time he wants to try to make something like that happen, because they're heading to the pits coming up next, and that'll be at the 4-mile marker. And Ashburn did not pit last time around, so that means he will have to stop. So any bit of cushion that he can build up right now is only going to play to his advantage and play heavily in favor of that, especially if he can gap about 10 seconds. But according to timing and scoring, he was only 1.1 ahead of Strang when they came through the finish line. And with the head of steam that Josh Strang was riding with at this juncture, he's going to be tough to gap. And the rest of the work for Jordan Ashburn may have to come in the final half of this race, in these closing moments, to try to once again reel him back in, and didn't make that, well, tougher than maybe what a lot of people think can be, pass on Josh Strang, because he is a tough nut to crack, especially late in the race. Oh, we got Sipes out front now trying to decipher what's going on. Josh Strang in the number 2 spot. And Jordy Ashburn has lost a little bit of time there to those guys, as he was leading them, now falling back just a little bit. So now not only does he not have the gap to the crew, he's got those 2 in front of him now. And that's going to make Jordan Ashburn's day that much longer here throughout the last half of this race. The exciting thing, and probably the big thing to think about for those guys in the top 3 right now, and especially for Jordan Ashburn, don't get too excited, because we still have about a 53-second lead over the 4th place ride. And if you look at lap times, Jordan Ashburn last time around at 29:59. Stu Baylor had turned a 30-minute and 45-second lap, so I'd have to think that this lap time, once again, was a head full of steam faster than what Baylor's likely was. So that comfort zone should be still fairly comfortable, and Jordan Ashburn should still have plenty of time to work with in order to try to make things happen. As we're down at the Infab and Pro Yamaha pits right now, the young Ashburn being waved in as they get set to drop the quick fill on this one, pop in some gas, a fresh pair of goggles, and a fresh drink of water there for this Yamaha rider. There's Eddie Ray helping out. That is JP Money, Jessica Patterson's Ray's husband, of course. And we say farewell to him as well as they send Jordan Ashburn off for this final pit stop of 2015. So Ashburn loses a little bit more time, and Josh Strang and Ryan Sipes seems to stretch things out that much more. The comfort zone grows for 1st and 2nd place, but at the same time, the battle for the win appears to be heating up. How's it all going to pan out? Will it be Sipes? Will it be Strang? Or will we have a surprise here at the Ironman? I guess we're going to have to stick around to find out. You do the same. GNCC Live continues after this.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
This RacerTV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
And welcome back to Crawfordsville, Indiana for the 21st running of the AMSOIL Ironman GNCC. We are an hour and 41 minutes into this race, working on lap number 4, just past the halfway point. And we're going to take a look at your Midstate Chevy midway report here. And I want to say thanks to Midstate Chevrolet as they stack them deep, sell them cheap. Check them out at midstatechevy.com on the World Wide Web, the home of your next new car, truck, or van. And as we look at the overall situation, we told you that we've got a couple things going on there in the top 10 overalls. Bollinger has moved up into a number 7 spot, so we'll be keeping an eye on him throughout the course of the day. And our 250A class leader out of Bonnyman, Kentucky, after 3 laps, checks in 18th place, so he is still our top amateur. Now as we go class by class, we'll start here with our, I believe, XC1 Pro class, and I do apologize. I've got very slow response time on my computer for some reason. It takes like 30 seconds between each class change. Sipes, String, Ashburn, Baylor, Duvall, your top 5 with Buttrick, Baylor, Coweta, Bach, and Douglas rounding out the top 10 in the XC1 Pro class. Give this computer a couple moments to think about it. Trevor Bollinger, Jason Thomas, Jesse Grome, along with Craig DeLong and Mike Wachowski, your top 5 in the XC2 Pro lights. Mason Atherton is running 6th. It's Colin May in 7th. Trevor Barrett runs in 8th. 9th, Rough and Rowdy himself, Ricky Russell. Big Sam Evans rounds out the top 10 aboard the number 24. Austin Lee, one of Indiana's top guns, expected to do well here today, especially after his podium position finish in Ohio a couple of weeks ago, running back in the number 11 spot. Cameron Ishmael from Bedford, Texas, here, one of the Torn racers, making his way here to the GNCCs. Welcoming you out, my friend. 3.7 second lead over the number 30 of Zach Hayes. Hayes second in the Open A class with Cole Kirkhoff, the 262, running in 3rd. Nathan Thornhill in 4th aboard the 59. Then it's Andrew Boggs, the 905, rounding out the top 5. 6th place, Matthew Sims with 7th at 300 of Ben Parsons. Dakota Abbott, the 829, is 8th. The 465 of Nathan Furterer is 9th. And then 10th place is Sam Mattingly in that Open A class. Looking next at the 250A class, Vance Francis, the leader of that class we told you about, out of Bonnyman, Kentucky. A 1 minute, 23.5 second lead over the 862 of Jake Froman from Linville right here in Indiana. Jake, a top GNCC pilot, and obviously one of the tops from right here out of the Hoosier State. 101, Chris Vendetti is running in the number 3 position. Paul Petron is the 703 in 4th. Mark Haresco, number 412, runs 5th. Then as we look to 6th, it's the 415, Sean Benhart. 7th is Vincent Smith aboard the 48. 8th, the 385 of Eric Douglas. 9th, the 747 of Hunter Neuwirth. Rounding out the top 10, the 444, Joe Bowden. That's your 250A class. Next class that we'll be taking a look at, I believe, is 200A with Logan Kiddick out of Farmington, Minnesota. A 17-second lead over the 640 of Josh Brown. 356, Jesse Ansley, who wrapped up the National Youth Championship title and made the step up to the big bikes here today, is running 3rd in that class out of Mayaca City, Florida. 4th place, the 75 of Zachary Ferentz. Then it's Josh Keys, the 389 in 5th, and John Hugel, your 6th place ride in the 200A class there. He's out of Venus. And believe it or not, Venus is in Pennsylvania. I never knew that. Lloyd Leonard, the 906 out of Canada, leading this one. 3 minutes, 14 seconds in that 4-stroke A lights class. Wow. He's got it nailed down today. The 199 of Cody Barnes. Cody Barnes, yes, 3 minutes, 14 seconds over Cody Barnes out of Sterling, Illinois. The 199 with a 42-second lead over Braxton McGee, the 45 in 3rd. Then it's Josh Lee, the 100, who runs 4th, and Tristan Landrum, the 704, rounds out your top 5. We look back to 6th place. It's Andrew France Aboard 983, 667. Hunter Maddox runs 7th, 386. Tyler Darman is 8th. 9th place, the 125, Christopher McManus. And 10th place, the 192 of Dawson Dunnick. That's your 4A lights class now as we check in with our next class, led by Joseph McCarty out of Mount Clair, West Virginia. The number 44 machine, after 2 laps of racing, leading this junior AB 25 plus class over the 986 of Aaron Coxon out of New Chamberlain, West Virginia. In the number 3 spot, 449 of Aaron Studer. He's out of Charleston, West Virginia. 4th place, the 149 Ted Rogers from Charleston, Illinois. Lafayette, Indiana is home to Justin Denvis. Denvis rides the 356 or 376 in 5th. And 6th then is the 718 Eric Breitmeyer. 7th, the 311 Tyler Martin. 8th place, 428 Adam Clark. 9th place, 263 Jordan Overfield. And running out in the top 10, 437 Jay Middlestat. Next class, we take a look at our Vet A class, the 30-plus class riders out of the Fairfield, Pennsylvania. Jedediah Haynes, the number 36, holding on to the lead in that class. Wow, I would have never guessed Jed Haynes for a 30-plus rider, but I guess it has been a while. He has a 3-minute, 52-second lead over Cincinnati, Ohio's Nathan Allering. Allering is riding the 402 in a 3-minute, 18-second lead over Jesse Arsenal. Wow, these Vet A guys have really got some gaps between themselves in the top 3, but it is very tight after that. Arsenal had only a 5-second lead over the 35 of Joe Marsh, and then another minute back to Fabian Barada, who is your 5th place ride. Only a few seconds then actually separating Jeremy Havens back in 6th. The 814 Cody Marks runs in 7th. 8th place Kirk Allen. 9th place Joe Dean. Gustavo Hidalgo rounds out your top 10 in the Vet A class as we see many race fans making their way in front of the RacerTV booth here, and they're headed to other various locations of the facility to check out some of the great racing going on. Senior A class, the 40-plus, sees Shane Cuthbertson in the lead there. He's out of Alberta, Canada as well. He's out of Airdrie, Canada. Then we got the 391 of Rick Burton. He's running in 2nd at 3 minutes, 26 seconds back. Man, these senior vet guys seem to really be able to stretch some leads out there quite a bit. Rick Burton, the 391, is running in 2nd. He's out of here, out of the great state of Indiana, out of Westville. It is Mark McGrath, the 451, running in 3rd. Senior A, 4th place, 828, Corey Thorson. 5th place, the 47, shotgun Sean Remington. Dan Illies, the 164, is 6th. 7th is Lorendo Silvia, the 520. 8th spot, the 430 of Bob Bergman. 9th place, the 450 of Rob Brown. And Eric Church rounds out your top 10 in the Senior A 40-plus class. And moving right along in the standings now, we'll move to, I believe, our B classes at this point. And it's the Open B class with Corbin Patton, 27-second lead on board the 144 out of Blairsville, Georgia. He has that lead over the 229 of Roman Phipps. In the 3rd place position, 924, Jay Downhour, JD Performance out of Eastern Ohio there, Southeastern Ohio. 377, Johnny Schoolcraft out of Martinsville, Indiana is 4th. 851, Dustin Stanley out of Clarksburg, West Virginia rounds out the top 5. Corey Virgin is 6th aboard the 379. 7th, James Harshberger aboard the 617. 8th, 632, Eric Souders. 9th, 384, Tim Squire. Bill Zavendi, the number 290, rounds out the top 10 in the Open B class. Moving on next from the Open B now to the 250B. Cope Beckert there with the lead out of Zanesville, Ohio, with Mike Miller, 225, running in 2nd. 410, Connor Keegan is 3rd. It's Willie Hart, the 321, in 4th, and Justin Murphy, the 484, rounding out your top 5. 6th through 10th now sees the 438 of Brian Klementowski in 6th, 7th, the 458 of Coleman Brinson. 8th, 713, Cody Aleph. 9th place is Josh Lyons, the 380, 424 of Wyatt Brown rounds out the top 10, and I believe Cody Aleph may have gotten the whole shot in that 250B class if memory serves me correctly from there on the start. Next, we take a look at There's Josh Strang. We got a new leader, it looks like, as Josh Strang has once again established himself quite handily, it looks like, of the lead here at the 8-mile mark at Twin Hills. I don't see Sipes there at the moment, and we'll be keeping an eye out to see exactly where and how far second place is behind. But that blanket notion that we were talking about there at the end of lap number 3, all of a sudden it appears is not so much of the call as things are really starting to stretch out here in the home stretch. And there is Sipes coming through the creek section now as he'll finagle his way through and up. It looks like Twin Peaks now, but we have got about a 20-second gap that has opened up between the first and second place positions, a gap that was no more than a second when we saw them at the finish line only about 8 miles ago. Jordan Ashford checking in the number 3 spot. He's dropped back a few seconds, but that was expected and anticipated due specifically to the fact that he had to take that pit stop after skipping out after lap 3 in hopes of being able to make some things happen out there. So you see what's happening out there. Already changes, and it looks like maybe Josh Strang, man on a mission now here in the latter part of this race, and he's already looking like he's going to be tough to catch for anybody, Ryan Sipes included, who seems to be losing some ground to the Aussie. Sean Cochran leading the 200B class as we continue with the Mid-State Chevy Midway Report. Hank Hayes running in second, Adam Parker is third, Caleb Williams in fourth, Dawson Driscoll rounds out your top 5. 6th place Wyatt Bruner, 7th place Alex Tweeton, 8th spot Colton Cup, 9th place Josh Ludicky, and 10th place Randy Smith, 200B. As we move next in the B class, intermediate level rides for this afternoon race here at the Ironman GNCC, we see Troy Lieberman is leading the 4-stroke B lights class. We got 161 Alan Hollenkamp in second, 764 Alex Ankrum in third. Alex got the whole shot in this class, if memory serves me correctly. Alex also working hard and got a job in waiting tables, as a matter of fact, to help fund his racing career. Ankrum followed in by Colton Hale. Ankrum is out of Hamden, Ohio. MacArthur, Ohio is the county seat to Benton County, where Alex Ankrum is from. So those guys running about 1 minute and 7 seconds apart. Be interesting to know whether they came together or not. But they are running 4th and 5th on the racetrack right now. Brendan Poling is 5th. Trevor Eckes is 6th. Bolton Birath is 7th. Drew Bolton is 8th. TJ Butler in 9th, and Cole Edwards rounds out your top 10 there in the 4-stroke B lights class. Next class we take a look at is being led by Jeremy Dexter, the vet B30 plus class leader out of Nelsonville, Ohio. A lot of Buckeyes doing well here today, it looks like. Scott Dowland, the 919, is second. Jason McCoy in third aboard the 416. 221, Gabe Ramirez is fourth. 5th place, Chris Levin. Then in 6th, Jason Wilson, the 354. 7th is Jimmy Pruder, the 429. 8th place, 127, Larry Hopper. 9th place, Michael Ashley, 146. And Jerry Costello, the 427, rounds out your top 10. And Kenneth O'Connor leading the senior A or B class, the 840 out of Chesterton, Indiana, with Jason Hall, another home state boy out of Brownsburg, 423 in second. 396 Gene Swidwa is running in the number 3 spot. In 4th place, Devin Ferguson, the 231. In 5th place, 440 Joe Verbandacure. 6th place, Doug Harris, the 431. 7th place, 417 Chris King. 8th place is Christian Hill. 435 Pete Emmy is 9th, and 627 Ryan Mottinger rounds out your top 10. And that is your Mid-State Chevy Midway Report presented by MidStateChevy.com. Check out your new car, truck, or van right there on the World Wide Web, and be sure and like them on Facebook. Mid-State Chevy, stacking them deep and selling them cheap. You got to get that finger in there like all the car smells.
If only you were live on air with the visual right there. He's got the hand motions down. Rodney Tomlin, when he's done being the voice of GNCC Racing, will be a car salesman, or at least a pitchman for the car sales the car sales company.
I've got that finger swing thing down like that.
Oh, here we go. Looks like Grant Baylor working his way through the creek, so we should see. We've seen our top 6, I believe, already work their way through. Thad Duvall dropping way back outside of the top 8, 9. I wasn't exactly sure where we last saw him at VP Fuels Pro Row, but it looks like Grant Baylor has worked his way around Cory Buttrick, but Buttrick's still hot on his heels as those guys work their way up. Baylor gets a little bit held up behind a lapped rider, but Buttrick taking the long way around does actually still lose time. Baylor's able to dog paddle his way up that rut and out. Now we see Kris Borch has closed up the gap on those two quite a bit. Was 35 seconds down in his pit. Now looks to be somewhere less than 10 seconds behind those two guys. So Borch putting in a charge here late. Looks like he takes the straight up line, makes it to the top of Twin Hills. And that should be, if I'm not mistaken, 6th, 7th, and 8th place on the track. Or I'm sorry, 5th, 6th, and 7th place on the track, because we have seen Thad Duvall drop back. So that is your top 7 that have worked their way through. The rider we see in white currently climbing the hill, that's Trevor Bollinger. He's your XC2 class leader. We saw him in the pits getting a splash of fuel, and he continues to grow that gap over Jason Thomas.
Hey, we got a silver Toyota Tacoma blocking Vendor Road down here. You're next to the porta pots, I believe is what they're telling, but you got a few of the folks blocked in, then they can't do what they need to do. So if you don't care, come on down and move that out of the way. And right now, Megawatt, if you want to grab this mic, head over to the Thad Duvall pits. I'd really like to know what's going on with the 989 right now, because we've seen a really hard charge there. Johnny, you said that we saw him charging. Well, he got that bad start, charged his way up, and then looked like he was really starting to maybe start to put a dent in that top 3 overall right there. And then all of a sudden he gets passed on that uphill section there and falls back behind Stu Baylor. Baylor checks in the 4th place position. Duvall checks in then in 5th. But then, all of a sudden, he drops back even further, and that is one thing that we want to find out a lot more about, what's going on with Bad Thad.
One thing I did notice, Rodney, when I was over in the VP Fuels Pro Row during that round of pit stops, when Thad Duvall came by, his bike shut off twice. Not completely, but bogged out, and you could see Thad looking down at it, but he was just holding it wide open. Honestly, I hate to say this, but I think at this point, Thad Duvall is out there just to blow the thing up. He's pretty upset about the fact that he charged his way up through. He did not look at all happy. If he can make that machine run, I'm sure he's going to try and salvage whatever points he can for the day. But the body language and the attitude on the bike told me that he was not happy with his motorcycle, and he was going to take it out there for another lap to make it pay.
Well, and you know, and he might be at the same time trying to make it pay, but he also might be trying to make it work, because if he does that, he might be able to work something out of the system. I know it sounds crazy, Johnny. You people that race these things don't believe that kind of stuff, and you do all that hard work on your bikes and stuff week in and week out. But somebody like me with faith, we know sometimes things that normally don't happen, and they play in our favor.
Hey, every so often, if you want it bad enough, you can will it to happen. Machinery, much like horses and animals, have a mind of their own. But, you know, sometimes, like you said, you can force that machine into submission. I believe that's what Thad Duvall may be trying to do right now, because obviously with that machine not running properly, he's trying to get something done out there.
Hey, it's Megawatt over in the pits with Fred Andrews. Going to find out what's going on with Bad Thad.
Hey, Rodney, we're down here right now, and we're going to get a word with the team of Thad Duvall. Going to find out exactly what's happened with that bike. Fred Andrews, can you give us an update?
Well, yeah, you know, Thad was running great, got up to about 4th place, and now his bike's starting to cut off on him. We're actually think it's an injector maybe. I mean, we stopped, we took that filter out that's in the line, and it still kept on doing it. So we're going to switch a tank this lap. You know, we're not out of the championship. Yeah, we can't win, but we still want to get points, and we're in it to win it. So let's change the tank and go on.
Wow, 100% effort from you guys, not giving up till the final lap for sure. Going to do whatever it takes to get him here and get as many points as possible.
Yeah, you know, we want to make sure that Thad has a great last race if we can help. You know, hopefully he'll make it around. We don't know, because it took him a long time with it being intermittent like it is. We don't know if he's going to make it, but if he does, we're going to be ready to put a new tank on.
Right on, Fred. We'll let you get back here and get ready to get that done.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Wow.
Thanks, Fred. There you have it, Rodney.
Thanks a lot, Megawatt. So if Thad makes it back around, they're putting on a new tank, it looks like. So they're thinking that it's an injector problem there, Johnny. So, wow. As frustrated as Thad is, you know, maybe if that machine does make it. But Freddie, he's even skeptical at this point whether or not it's going to make it. He's just hoping that he does, so they can get him back out there and get as many points as possible here in this final round.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not exactly sure how the points shape up, but I know Thad, there's a number of guys there that are fairly close in points. As we look down through the points, Thad was sitting in that 3rd place spot, but he was only 4 points ahead of a charging Josh Strang. So as the way things sit right now, it appears that unless Thad Duvall can really turn things around, he is going to give up that 3rd place in the overall position standings to Josh Strang, because he was only 4 points behind, and then Kris Borch only another, looks like 5 points behind that. So only 9 points separating Thad Duvall all the way back to Kris Borch, with Ryan Sipes. Actually, here's an interesting one, Rodney. Ryan Sipes was in 6th in the overall standings, 170 points. Thad Duvall in 3rd with 200. There's a 30-point spread between first and not scoring any points. It's 30 points to win. So if Sipes could get to the front and win this race and score 30 points, he would tie Thad Duvall, but it would come down to the tiebreaker. Tiebreaker being most wins. If Ryan Sipes would win today, they would each have 1 win. I'd have to go to the rule book because we rarely have to use this, but I believe I don't know if it's most seconds or if it is in fact the last race.
Oh.
So either which way, I think the tiebreaker would, in both cases,
go to
Ryan Sipes. So if Ryan Sipes can win this today, he can move himself up possibly into 5th or maybe even 4th in the overall standings for the year.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. By the way, our leaders checking in there just a moment ago. Johnny on screen, we saw him go by. Josh Strang, minute almost 53 seconds back to Ryan Sipes, so we see a big gap starting to open up there. 10.7 seconds back to Jordan Ashburn. And, you know, I would mount the question of what's going on with Ryan Sipes at this point, but I think if you look at the big picture here with lap times dropping for both Ryan Sipes and Jordan Ashburn, they're now matching the lap times of 4th and 5th place positions, but Josh Strang got even faster. That was his fastest lap at 29.46. So as these guys seem to be fading a little bit here toward the end of the race, or relaxing a little bit, I imagine a lot of that is the lap traffic probably slowing them down. Josh Strang not having the issues to getting through it as these guys doesn't appear.
Yeah, Josh Strang obviously with a lot of experience leading and winning races. You know, he's really learned a lot, both in his championship run many years ago, or several years ago, and then also in these last several races and these last 3 seasons that he's been chasing around the man, the myth, the legend, Caleb Russell. You know, he's learned so much about letting these races fall into place and happen. Now here we stand with 2 laps of racing remaining, and Josh Strang has put the hammer down, pulled out a gap of, as Rodney just said, 53 seconds over Ryan Sipes. So with the 53-second gap, Josh Strang, you would think, would be relaxing, but what's he doing? It looks like he's even twisting that throttle harder, trying to get himself even more of a comfortable gap in case anything happens throughout these last couple of laps of racing.
Wow, you know, Josh Strang is living that dream once again, living on the high. And to quote Josh precisely, it's good to be spoiled again. And he did say that. He said it is good to be spoiled. He knew that whenever he came over here originally that he got spoiled. And he realized it, I think, in those years that he's been struggling to reach the point that he's at now. But believe it or not, man, he's got the full factory support, the semi. They fly the mechanic out from California every round of racing. And he's got everything that he needs to win races. And I think that's really starting to shine through, especially here in the latter half of the season.
Yeah, Josh is a rider we've talked a lot about. He's a bit of an enigma in that regard. Had all that help when he was with the factory Suzuki squad. Had 10 people at the races just for him, just him racing. 1 rider out of that semi for much of his career when he was winning races and championships. All those guys, truck drivers, cooks, mechanics, coaches, man friends, all that kind of stuff that typically we see reserved for Supercross in the upper echelon of professional athletes. Josh Strang had that here. He branched out on his own after Suzuki, did away with that program. He came back through several different rides, an RPM KTM ride, his own ride that he put together with Rocky Mountain ATV, I believe it was, on a Kawasaki, and then now back after last year with the factory effort of Ampro Yamaha, but still running his own program. It was kind of an attached satellite effort this year in that factory big rig, and it appears that we may have lost Grant Baylor unless we did not see him check in just yet. Cory Buttrick checking in now, should be taking over the 5th place spot, I believe. And there he is, Cory Buttrick in 5th. Now, it looks like Kris Borch is put on a charge. He's up to 6th.
No, Baylor did check in on the number 6 spot.
I must be blind today. I can't see those yellow Yamahas. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
And here we see Trevor Bollinger working his way through the final turns. So Bollinger going to be checking in for sure with that XC2 lead, and we'll have to see what place that puts him in the overall when he checks in. When we last saw, he was 7th last lap. I believe he's going to move up possibly to 5th.
Well, let's see here as we wait for the adjustments to be made with this slow-moving computer today. And it hasn't showed him checking in just yet, but it will here any moment, like right about now. now.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain we're going to see Bollinger in that 5th place spot in the overall. So leading the XC1 class, our screen isn't updating, but I'm confident that was not 1 minute from Cory Buttrick to Trevor Bollinger. Trevor Bollinger has worked his way up from 11th 2 laps ago, 7th last lap. He is 5th overall, if my calculations are correct. He's still showing only 3 laps complete. We know he has done 4. We saw that in living color, in person. So, again, we're having a little bit of a technical glitch here with our system, but Trevor Bollinger up to 5th place overall and leading the XC2 class.
Well, right now, as we are 2 hours and 5 minutes into this race, Johnny, here comes the last hour push. This is the place where oftentimes riders hit that wall. We oftentimes see it happening normally about the 1.5 hour mark to 1 hour 45 minute mark. But surely, once we reach the 2 hour mark, this is where the war of attrition really starts to battle it out between these guys, and they make some major gains because of physical conditioning through this last hour of racing. And who's going to have the best line on this, and all the well, not only conditioning but mental smarts and stick-to-itiveness. There's Josh Strang making his way into sight now as we check in with him now, Johnny, out near the 3 mile marker.
We're good to hear we have Caleb Russell tuned in at home. He's actually texting right now, asking for some updates on the or not updates, but giving his insight on some of what's going on the track. So Caleb, wish you were here. Obviously, you're sitting at home, catching up and watching these guys. I'm sure sizing up the competition for next year. And right now, the guy he's got to be keeping the closest eye on is this man on screen right now, Josh Strang, the number 2 machine out there. Looks like he's on rails right now as he works his way past the 3 mile marker, and we know that means he is approaching the VP Fuels Pro Row. We're going to see, I think he might be coming in for a splash of gas this lap. I think he pitted at the end of lap 2, which means he's going to have to go ahead and take another splash of gas right now to get him to the finish line.
Yes, he most certainly is. And I tell you what, man, Josh Strang, a head full of steam, and with Caleb Russell sitting at home waiting and watching this right now, you know he's got to be thinking, "Wow, man, Josh is riding a lot faster." You think maybe Caleb's starting to get a little nervous right now?
Well, I don't know. He might be watching at home, just doing a little critiquing, and obviously spending some time with that new addition to the family crew. Yeah. Got to see some Halloween pictures yesterday.
That was
he
awesome.
And Chandler and Hunter, his sister-in-law, and also Lane Michael, they had dressed up, and little crew was Scooby-Doo. And they were the mystery gang or whatever the gang is there, but they were the Scooby-Doo crew, and little crew was in fact Scooby-Doo himself, but looked like he didn't make it through the whole night. He was pretty tired, passed out. For those of you guys that don't follow Caleb and Chandler on Instagram, look them up. Some pretty cute pictures from yesterday, and Caleb at home rehabbing himself obviously after the knee surgery he had, and was able to lock this championship up after only 10 rounds of racing, despite the fact that we count full 13. So obviously Caleb with an incredibly dominant season, but the guys that are on course right now, what they're doing is they're pushing themselves, they're pushing each other, and they're doing all they can to try and close the gap on the number 1 machine of Caleb as they line up next year in Florida, trying to, and obviously, as you mentioned before, the returning Charlie Mullins. Anybody following on social media, Charlie's been out there really pushing himself, actually training with famed trainer to the stars, Alden Baker. So Charlie down there at the Baker factory training with Jason Anderson and all the other guys that are down there. Here we see on screen Ryan Sipes now in the VP Fuels Pro Row.
That's a very interesting fact, and I was going to point out as they come into that pit stop, I didn't know whether or not Ryan Sipes may have to pit this time around, but Jordan Ashburn's not too far behind as you see Ashburn going out of the pits right now.
Yeah, and Josh Strang working his way through. He's coming to the end of this field section. He's got 2 more turns to go, and then he'll be turning. He takes a look over his shoulder, but what he sees is an empty field aside from some lappers. Sipes still working his way through the backside of the pro pits. Right about now, Sipes is coming into that field, and Strang is out of it. So they didn't see each other. So that's a big advantage for Josh Strang right now, because I can tell you yesterday, the way this course is laid out, one of the only opportunities you have to get an eyeball on somebody and see just what that gap is, you can read pit boards all day long. You can see 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 22 seconds, whatever it is. When you physically see someone, that's when you can taste it. That's when you can feel it. That's when you really twist that throttle that much harder and you try and run them down. Sipes, again, now just coming into those fields, you can see him taking a look over to his left. Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at? unfortunately for Ryan Sipes, Josh Strang is already into the woods of this Ironman GNCC course, and he is out of sight on Ryan Sipes.
And he better be keeping an eye on his rear shoulder right there, because Jordan Ashburn might have a point to try to prove here in his final lap of racing. If these guys race with the intensity that we saw through the first 3-4 laps of racing out there, we may be in store for something really super exciting as far as the finish of this race is concerned. We are now about 2 hours and working on 11 minutes into this race. It is Josh Strang leading Ryan Sipes, Jordan Ashford in the number 3 spot. Last check, Stu Baylor came in at the number 4 spot with 5th place in class, Cory Buttrick. But then it was Trevor Bollinger checking in the number 5 spot as Johnny as Johnny Gallagher had figured before our computer actually told us that. But and that drops Buttrick off to a number 6 position. Grant Baylor running 7th. Jason Thomas, 2nd place in the XC2 Pro Lights class. By the way, 32 seconds off of pace. Bollinger right now is 8th. Kris Borch is 9th overall. Jesse Grome, 3rd place in class, 36.5 seconds. Rounds out your top 10. Takeshi Coweta, by the way, running back in the number 11 spot overall here on this after lap number 4 as we roll into lap number 5. Expected 6-lap race. I believe we do have the 2-lap board out at this particular point. It is out. I've just got confirmation on that, and man, we're in the home stretch of this one, Johnny. I mean, looking back over this again now, if you folks have not tweeted your podium predictions yet, you need to do that. Again, hashtag GNCC Live, Johnny, and you could end up winning $250 in AMS oil product. You don't have to be right, but what you do have to be is hashtagging GNCC Live for a chance to win.
You know, how great is it as far as being able to participate in the festivities from home? Not only can you watch the race live on RacerTV, you can watch all the action just as it unfolds, just as it goes down. You could actually win from home. You might not be able to win the race. If you want to win the race, you got to come here, you got to sign up, you got to line up, and you got to do battle with the best riders in the world. But if you want to win $250 in AMS oil products, all you got to do is get on Twitter, hashtag GNCC Live, and your podium predictions.
There you go. I got to ask you a question. If you would have been guessing yesterday's podium predictions, would you have hashtagged yesterday's podium by any chance?
For the ATVs?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have even got close.
I wouldn't have either, man. But you know, there was someone that actually got all 3 of them right. They weren't in the right order, but they were all 3 right.
You know, that's...
and he did it well over an hour before the checker flag even threw.
Well, that's impressive. Somebody obviously had a good feeling about those guys. Was definitely cool to see Jared McClure get his 2nd win of his career. Rode phenomenal yesterday. You know, hats off to him. Obviously, Cole Richardson, you know, rookie XC1 rider in only his 2nd XC1 race, coming up, getting on the podium. You know, it was an impressive day for him. He was actually out there and raced his dirt bike today, this morning, in the Sportsman A class. He came in, and I can tell you by the look on his face and the comments that he made, he has a whole new respect for those dirt bike riders. He said just a few miles in, he shoulder checked a tree. He said he spent a lot of time on the ground. He was out there battling with a good buddy and fellow XC1 rider, Josh Merritt. They went out there, had some fun battling each other on dirt bikes. And I think in the back of his mind, whether he admits it or not, I think Cole was hoping to come from that 2nd or 3rd row and catch up and pass those top WXC riders. You know, he's trained with a number of us, including Becca Sheets, over the years, and I think he felt he could get it done. But when it was all said and done, he was a little ways behind. So new respect for those guys, but kudos to him for going out there, having fun, having a great ride, and most importantly, like we said, having fun. Kris Borch has worked his way around Cory Buttrick now, so as they work their way through the VP Fuels Pro Row, he made the pass on Buttrick. When we last saw him, it was Buttrick in the 6th place spot, 5th in XC1, and it was Grant Baylor. That did not update correctly, or did it? I don't know what we're seeing. We're seeing something definitely different on screen. We just saw Kris Borch ahead of Cory Buttrick and Grant Baylor. Unless we missed Baylor, we'll have to watch out here. They'll be coming. They just came through VP Fuels Pro Row, and now they're working their way back out the other side. We see Jason Thomas working his way through. Trevor Bollinger has already come through. We know he is now in the 5th place on corrected time overall and leading that XC2 class.
That would be 14 seconds that Kris Borch made up, and then some, to get ahead of those 2 riders if that's what happened, Johnny. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. If that is what happened, something really strange going on there. There is Buttrick checking through the field section now on the 121 machine.
Yeah, when we saw him come through VP Fuels Pro Row just a moment ago, Borch was definitely ahead of Buttrick, but it was before they came to the pits, so it's possible that Bach may have had to stop for a splash of fuel or maybe some goggles. We'll have to see when the camera pulls back here and see what we actually see on screen. Now, we did not see Baylor unless we missed him, so we'll have to see. We've got, so there is Buttrick, the 121 beta. Obviously, as we said, he takes a look over his shoulder, looking back to see whether that's Baylor or Bach behind him. We'll have to wait and see. But those guys are a heck of a battle going on back there over that 5th place position. Stu Baylor solidly in 4th there, 54 seconds behind Ashburn, but a pretty good gap back, 3 minutes and 14 seconds back to Cory Buttrick. So Stu Baylor, we haven't talked a whole lot about him today, but he's put in one heck of a ride here in this 4th place spot, hanging still within striking distance of that podium position.
Bollinger on screen right now. Johnny Gallagher at the 3-mile marker. Actually, that's not the 3-mile marker, I don't think. I think that's after the 3-mile marker, right? That's probably around the 5 or so mile mark as they are out near the County Road 200. Leading through some of these field sections and heading back toward Ironman Hill region. Those are some of the final wood sections you'll be passing before you head there. There is Jason Thomas. He's the rider running about 30 seconds back, or was, behind the leader in the class, Trevor Bollinger. Now Jason Thomas about 35 or so seconds back in that number 2 position. Well, Johnny, leading into the weekend is a big weekend. We celebrate our 21st running. This is 20 years if you look at it on technically from 1995 to, well, now here in 2015. But we started our 3rd decade of racing here in GNCC Racing at Ironman. And one thing that is certainly, I think, very true is the fact that we've become woven in a part of the community's fabric here in Crawfordsville, Indiana. And each and every week that we go to these races, oftentimes a crew of folks go out to do the what we call school visits. And you've been a big part of that this year, and you were again this year as we visited some schools here in Crawfordsville.
Yeah, absolutely. We went out and visited a few schools, and it was a great opportunity. We had a lot of fun. And, obviously went out there with my good buddy Walker Fowler and also Austin Lee, a local Indiana guy. Chuck LeMaster administrates the program. He's done a phenomenal job, put a great program together. It was started out by Jen Kenyon before she moved on to some different ventures. And it's an awesome program, brings a lot of positive messages to the school kids, from teaching them about anti-bullying to setting goals to them being able to kind of set their own future and really work hard in doing so. Plus, it exposes them to the wonderful world of GNCC racing, so you really can't ask for much more than that. It's a lot of fun, very informative, and I feel like it's a great community outreach program that GNCC does with many of the local schools as we travel around the country.
No doubt, and thanks to Chuck LeMaster for doing that this year. He won't be able to do it next year in the since Jen left, but nonetheless, he won't be back at it doing it next year, but I believe our own Megawatt Matt Watson is going to be heading that up next year.
Yeah, I spoke with Megawatt after that school visit, and he's already got some interesting ideas for how he's going to change the program up a little bit. Definitely going to be high energy. If anybody that knows, he didn't get the name Megawatt by just hanging around. So any of you people watching at home that would like to have GNCC come to your school, if you're near one of the venues for the 2016 schedule when it comes out here in the coming months, reach out to the fine folks at Racer Productions and see if we can bring the message to your school. If Rodney, you mentioned how the town of Crawfordsville and the entire community surrounding the Ironman GNCC really embraces this event. Quick story, we came here for the first time in 1995. Obviously, the event getting its namesake from Bob Sloan, the Ironman. This event named after him. He passed away in a racing incident in 1994 at Starvation Point, West Virginia, at one of the GNCC rounds. In honor of him, it may have already been in place before that. I don't know. I've never heard the full story, but they sought out a piece of property in his hometown and said, we want to have a race there. We want to name it after Bob. Worked with his family, worked with the community. And I got to tell you, of all the places we go, GNCC has become such a huge off-road. It's the largest off-road series in the world, the most iconic motorcycle and ATV series in the world, in many people's opinion. But when we first came here in 1995, things were still on the growth. And although it was a large series and one of the most well-known and well-recognized, the way that this community embraced this series that very first year, I can remember every restaurant coming in, every hotel had signs, welcome GNCC racers, welcome GNCC race fans. this town, these people, they opened up their hearts, they opened up their community to GNCC racing. They've embraced it, and man, they've continued to embrace it every year, every event since then. It just grows, it gets bigger. You know, and I can remember in the mid-2000s, you know, which now is 12 years ago, I can remember people saying, you know, well, GNCC, it's never going to get any bigger than Ironman was this year. It can't possibly grow. And if you look back to the way it was in 2002, 2003 to today, there is a phenomenal amount of people here watching this man, Josh Strang, as he works his way towards what's appearing to be another win for him in 2015. I know we've still got 2 laps of racing remaining, or about a lap and a half now as we see it on screen as he works his way up the Twin Hills. But with the lead that he's opened up, it's really going to take a dramatic charge from Ryan Sipes or Jordan Ashburn or Stu Baylor. One of these guys is really going to have to drop the hammer to try and close that quickly growing gap that Josh Strang has opened up.
Well, watching out here at Twin Peaks once again, lap number 5, man, he's got to have well over a minute now. We were looking at, what was it, 52 seconds, 53 seconds, whenever they came through the finish line at the end of lap number 4. Johnny, I'm going to say we're looking more along the lines of somewhere in the neighborhood of about a minute and a half, as I think that we may be seeing our leaders checking in second and third here shortly. Remember, last time through, though, Jordy Ashburn was still about 10 seconds off pace of Ryan Sipes, back in the number 2 spot. Both those guys have dropped their lap times down quite a bit, considerably, and here they are. There is... no, we thought we had Ashburn coming into the shot, but I don't know. That is Sipes coming in there, the 264 machine. So that is our second place position, and I'm going to say, I don't know if that was a minute and 45 seconds or 2 minutes and 15 seconds that we saw there just a second ago. I lost track on my counting there. But, wow, what a major gap starting to open up there as Jordy Ashburn checks in now at Twin Peaks at the 8-mile marker. Looks like that gap has opened up now closer to a 30-second position gap between second and thirds there. So, interesting how tight things were through the first 2 hours, Johnny, and that's when I mentioned the word attrition, you know, and since I said that word, this race, the face of this race basically, and the look of this race up front has really changed quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've seen so much bar-to-bar action from lap 1. You know, we saw Josh Strang get away early, and then like we've talked about a number of times, Ryan Sipes grabbed a handful of throttle, closed up the gap, got onto the rear wheel of his somewhat Husky teammate, you know, on a fellow Husky, but in a different team, and he drug Jordan Ashburn with him. Well, now Josh Strang has been able to open up that gap yet again, but this time it looks like it might be for the duration. We'll have to see how it shapes up. The rider we're waiting on now on screen at the 8-mile marker is Stu Baylor. We had last seen Baylor in that 4th place spot. He was 54 seconds behind Jordan Ashburn. Here comes Baylor now as he drops his way into the creek. You know, Baylor, he's another one of those guys. You know, he's a bit of he's a hit or miss kind of guy. You know, he always gives it his all, but it seems like he's up there and then some type of an issue pops up. But today, it looks like he might be able to bring this one to the finish. Not quite the podium ride I'm sure he was looking for, but with a solid 4th place finish, finishing ahead of some very, very strong contenders who have won races and been on the podium a number of times this year, including his brother, who, you know, there's always a rivalry between those two. The Baylor brothers, they don't like to get beat by each other. You know, but right now, Grant Baylor has got a long gap to bridge if he wants to get up to big brother Stu, upwards of 3 minutes ahead. So, yeah. You know, Stu putting in a heck of a ride here today, and, you know, hats off to him.
You know, a rather illustrious first season in the XC1 Pro class for former Pro Lights champion there, Grant Baylor. We saw so many great rides and great performances out of him in the early part of this year, that as we roll into this, final round, you know, looking at that, it's hard to believe that we talk about a rookie running in 7th place. Maybe, possibly, not. I mean, to me, it's kind of out of place and out of commonness, because this is the point in the race where traditionally we have seen Grant Baylor really start to make the push, make up a lot of gains, and make a lot of passes and things of that nature. But for something to hear the last couple of rounds, It took him a while last time, I think, to get started in Ohio, but, I mean, he did finally get started and everything, but it seemed like it took him longer. And then today, man, we still haven't seen, I don't think, the really big push that Grant Baylor normally does even come on just yet.
Yeah, normally we see Grant. He's one of the few riders. You know, some of the riders take 30 minutes or 45 minutes or some cases even an hour. But Grant Baylor, it seems like, at the 2-hour mark is when he really pours it on. You know, we haven't seen that yet today, but when we did see Cory Buttrick last on screen, it was Buttrick, Bach, and Baylor that were all kind of close together there. And then based on our camera angles, and we were trying to watch both sides of the track and everything, we're not exactly sure how that shook out at the 3-mile marker. So although they were close when they checked in at the finish line, at the 3-mile marker, the only one we actually saw on screen was Cory Buttrick. So we don't know if we missed Bach and Baylor, and they were up there battling further ahead, or if they'd stretched themselves out further. So for all we know, Grant Baylor may have put that big charge in, gotten around Buttrick, and he may be in that 5th place spot all by himself. We'll know soon enough because they should be working their way through here at the 8-mile marker in a matter of just a few moments.
Well, you know, talking about the names of Baylors, you know, I just can't help but remember watching those kids grow up through the GNCC ranks and even right here through the Ironman GNCC. And we saw another kid make that step today. Again, we saw Jesse Ansley, who's won the youth national title, raced his final race today in youth competition and was able to pull off yet another win and then step up into the 200A class. Anyway, we caught up with him here earlier today.
Hello and welcome to RacerTV.com's coverage of the Ironman GNCC 2015. We're here with our first winner of the day, Jesse Ansley, our youth winner in Super Mini 14 to 15. Tell me about the track a little bit today, Jess. Said you encountered some water problems.
Yeah, the track was really sick. I liked it. I got off to a great start, and the first creek crossing we went through, it's a little deep, and I got a little anxious and went kind of too fast and sucked some water. And it kind of cost me the first 3 laps, but I maintained to ride smart and ride the bike mid-power just to make sure it didn't bog down, and it was good. Once it started clearing out, I could throw it down and pull it off to the finish.
Once you did that, you knew you had it in the bag. You knew you were going to make that last lap and be safe.
Yeah, the bike was running pretty crappy, but I mean it was my fault. I just got too anxious, and that could have cost me the championship. But everything's good. Once it started clearing out, I just kind of got in a rhythm. Made sure I didn't push the bike too hard because I didn't know if it was a water problem or not. And but yeah. Luckily, we finished.
Well, congratulations on an amazing season. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Megawatt. Jesse out there right now in the 200A class. The 356 out of Mayaca City, Florida, running 3rd place. He's a minute and 5 seconds behind 2nd place right now, who is only 7 seconds behind 1st place. Here's the key thing about that. He lost a minute in the last lap alone, so it was a top 3 battle going on between those guys, and he's got like a 6-minute lead over 4th place. So Jesse's faring well. Did well this morning, steps up, does well here this afternoon, it looks like.
You got to believe he might have lost a minute that lap, but at this point, as they are 2 hours and 28 minutes into racing, that means he's 3 hours and 8 minutes into racing because he already did an hour this morning.
An hour and a half, actually.
Hour and a half. So he's already 4 hours into racing. By the time he's done, he's going to be 4.5 hours into his racing adventures for the day. So you got to believe, as strong and as fit and as young and as determined as he is, at this point he's got to be feeling a bit of fatigue.
Well, we got the report there just a moment ago, Johnny, that we did see Kris Borch checking in there just a few moments ago, and we got that battle going on as he was right behind
Stu Baylor in 4th, and then it looked like Bach has worked his way into 5th with right on his rear wheel Grant Baylor. After Grant Baylor, we did see Trevor Bollinger when we came back to our shot. Here he checked in. Now there is 2nd place in the XC2 class, and that is Jason Thomas as he takes a look over his shoulder. I believe he is looking for that 3rd place ride who was last that we knew, Jesse Grom, but he has pulled out a little bit of a gap on Grom when we had seen them last. Now here, as we come to the finish line at the 12-mile marker, the man working his way through the chicanes, none other than the number 2 machine of Josh Strang. You see him giving a little wipe to the goggles there, maybe knocking a little piece of dirt off. But when he comes around this corner, he's going to see a welcome sight, and that's going to be Ricky Towery with a white flag waving, and that means 1 more lap, 30 more minutes. This one's going to work out to be almost exactly 3 hours. We're going to work up just about a minute short of 3 hours if things stay the way that they are. So you couldn't ask for a better day of racing. Everything working out with the lap times on the track to be almost exactly a 3-hour race for our leader. Now we'll wait and we'll watch, and the next rider we should see would be the 264 of Ryan Sipes, and then followed relatively closely by the number 3 machine of Ashburn. So although there's still 30 minutes of racing left, it appears that barring some kind of a major mistake, Josh Strang has stretched this one out. Unless Ashburn and Sipes can really drop their lap time and potentially close the gap, I believe that Josh Strang may have this one in hand. But again, we still have that podium battle over the final 2 spots of Ryan Sipes currently second and the Ampro Yamaha of Jordan Ashburn in the 3rd place spot. And there he is, Ryan Sipes on that moto track, working his way. He's got a few more corners, and then he'll be coming into the finish line in that 2nd place position.
Well, here comes Sipes now. We'll check the official gap between 1st and 2nd place, 53.4 seconds last time around. I'm going to have to go out on a limb and say that I think we're a little more than that at this particular point, as Ryan makes his way in now, and one final turn there of the white flag. And I'm sure a welcome sight for him, because another outstanding performance here today. A good way to finish the season, and a positive way to finish the season. He is 1 minute and 21 seconds behind your leader, as Jordan Ashburn now coming in was 10 seconds back. We're probably looking somewhere in the neighborhood of closer to 30 seconds or so, as after the check-in here, there is the white flag for Jordan Ashburn, the young rider, 25.2 seconds. So he loses 15 seconds on that lap to Ryan Sipes. And coming up next, we should be seeing within a minute or so, Stu Baylor. Baylor actually running about the same lap time that Ashburn did a lap ago. So if Stu was able to maintain the same speed, or maybe pick it up a little bit, we might see him check in a little sooner. Otherwise, it could be quite a bit of a gap starting to open up between 3rd and 4th place. So we'll know more about that as we wait right now patiently with bated breath. We want to see what's going on with Kris Borch, and I know that there's a storyline there, Johnny, you were talking about there moments ago, that just an amazing feat that this rider is, well, out there number 1, doing as well as he is number 2.
Yeah, you know, I hadn't actually, I'm fairly close with Kris and speak with him every day, but he must have kept it pretty well under his hat. Apparently he had a crash last Sunday, and as we see Stu Baylor working his way through, so that is our 4th place ride. As he checks in, he's going to be a little upwards of a minute, it looks like, behind Jordan Ashburn as he checks in, and we refresh our screen. Looks like we're still showing him with 4 laps. We can update that here in a moment. Apparently Bach had a little bit of an issue in one of the races he ran last weekend. Is riding injured, actually possibly has a cracked pelvis and a number of vertebrae out of place in his back there. So he was able to get himself doctored up a little bit this week, but probably riding through a good bit of pain. Again, this is secondhand information, so I'm not confirming it, but I'm hearing that maybe that's what that suspension adjustment was about. He's clearly riding through some pain. Explains why he's been a little bit off the pace here early, but the charge late here is quite impressive.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Evidently, whatever changes they made must be developing and working well for him, because, I mean, he's still making that push out there and still a solid part of a top 6-7 ride there.
That rider we just saw on screen is, in fact, Jesse Ansley. There is the 200A rider we just saw the feature on. Looks like, as we said, he's got a drink bottle in his mouth there, and I think he's going to be really happy to see that white flag. He's got to be one tired young man right now, but kudos to him for riding 2 races in one day like that, and great to see him out there getting the job done.
For sure, and waiting to see, let's see, I'm looking to see where he checks in at. Ansley, 208 class, now 39-minute lap time there, and looks like he's running some pretty good consistent lap times with those guys in that 200A class right now. Josh Sipes, by the way, lap time was a 30:08, 30 minutes 36 seconds for Ryan Sipes. Jordan Ashburn, a 30:50 lap time. 31:10 was for Stu Baylor. And we still wait for your 5th place ride to check in. Now, Trevor Bollinger, your leader of the XC2 Pro Lights class, was 5th place overall after adjusted time. Physically on the track a lap ago, it was Cory Buttrick, but we're kind of looking for Kris Borch to be checking in here pretty soon, if I'm not mistaken. And I know that he was kind of not far behind Grant Baylor there a little bit ago, so that might be the Baylor that we were getting the reports on. So he might still be back in about 7th place. But again, just a remarkable ride, I think, to be able to ride through the pain and the adversity that he's riding through. But got to do it in front of the hometown crowd. Megawatt Matt Watson joining us here in the Racer TV booth right now, man. What a great race day today. Looking at this, you got the first probably 3/4 of this race, man. You could throw a blanket over the top 3 in this class.
Absolutely amazing, Rodney. Nobody probably really expected this tight of a race here today. Nobody expected this kind of conditions or weather either. But you know what? The way this thing played out, drama right from the start. You know, pile up in several of the classes, especially the XC1 class. And you know what? Nobody thought that this thing was going to probably fall into the position that it did here, because like you said, for 3 laps, man, you could throw a blanket over these guys.
And it's starting to change now. And Thad Duvall, whom we understand may be having some sort of gas feed problem. They're thinking maybe an injector. They were hoping that maybe even just changing the tank might be something that would help them out. So it could be a fuel pump issue, could be an injector. So they're hoping maybe a fuel pump by changing that tank, I think, is what they're probably considering.
Yeah, I heard you mention a little bit ago, Rodney, sometimes you can just wring one out, you know, and maybe run a piece of dirt through it, or a little bit of water in the gas and that kind of thing. And on occasion, that will happen. You know, the thing will clean out and clear up and start running again. But obviously not the case here today for Thad. And Fred and the whole team over there willing to do anything it takes, man, to keep that guy up and running at 100%.
Most definitely. Got to hand it to Fred Andrews and Far Racing, as they are a part of that KR4 Rocky Mountain effort. The Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com folks really stepping up behind the KR4 Arrive and Ride program there. And those guys have really brought together a great team, and I want to salute those guys, each and every one of them, for the great things. I know Thad Duvall's done well this year. Nick Davis has done well. Both are excited and hoping that they get and expecting to get a chance to return on a lot of the same program that they're riding on right now. And with that, man, we could see 2 championship contenders, XC1 and XC2, out of that tent next year alone.
No doubt about it. Very interesting program. Very unique program, and I can tell you, Rodney, opportunity for a certain type of rider to go over there and excel. And I tell you, Thad's fit real well with the whole program over there, and it fit his style. And before you know it, that guy's going to have every opportunity to be the star over there, which he already is. And you know what? With the management and leadership that they have, it just really fits his style and his program real well.
For sure. And now Trevor Bollinger has checked in. He has dropped to 6th place overall, and that was Kris Borch, who was, believe it or not, behind now Stu Baylor in 5th place, as Johnny Galler was talking. And this is a sort of miraculous in a way, if you think about in the secondhand information that Johnny got. If that is anywhere near true,
that kind
there
of
is
injury,
Thad
Rodney.
Duvall right there on the screen, and he is somehow or another. Where is that going to put him in position? He's a lap down, I think, at this point. But you know, there you go, man. We were talking about it. Get him out there, get whatever he can, and if nothing else, he's getting that last ride all the way to the very end. And I got to tip my hat to Thad Duvall, man. Even a lap down, all these adversities he's working through, he's still working.
Since he was a kid, man, that's been his style. I can tell you, whatever it took, any kind of little injury, you know, Thad, one of the most decorated mini bike racers ever in this game, and adversity didn't come to him much at that rank. But as soon as he got into the big bikes, you know what? Anything that possibly could happen at one time or another has to Thad. And you know what? The kid was smiling last night. I was talking to him about that, him and his dad, you know, and he was just smiling. And, you know, it is what it is. Another day in the life of Thad Duvall. And you can't have a better attitude than that, Rodney.
No doubt. And I know that's been a big part of it. Again, I mentioned it. We were talking about it early. Maturity, I think, has a lot to do with it. I use that a lot. The maturity helps all these riders, I think, just growing up. And I think something that you mentioned, and you talk a lot about maturity. With maturity comes good race management, I believe. And, you know, these guys, it's trial and error, basically, and they got to learn how to manage that race, and maturity is one thing that is on their side to help them do that.
Absolutely key to it, Rodney. And when you mention maturity and race management, you know, it is the hardest concept to get a youngster to understand. Slow down to go faster. Okay, slow down to get to the end. You know, you're riding so hard that, you know, I like that you take the chance. I like you're willing to hang it out, you know, but, man, 7 out of 10 times we're hitting the ground when you do that. So it's really hard point to get across to a kid. And once you can get them to ride within their limits, to ride on that edge, then we start talking about race management. Then we start talking about strategies and goals and that type of thing. And some riders pick up on it way better than others.
Well, we see one of our rock star riders out in the field right now. That was Strang. Yep, that was Strang leading, and there is Sipes now coming through the pit, so you can see the distance between themselves. Now we're waiting and watching for Ashburn to see right exactly how far behind he is now. We had seen as much as little as 9 seconds at last, and now as much as 25, so he's not going to be in that 15. I was thinking that maybe Ashburn might make up a little bit of time. We're at the 20-second mark right now, so it looks like he's riding about right on cue. So he hasn't. There he is. So about 25, 27 seconds behind now. Ryan Sipes is your third-place rider, Jordan Ashburn. A phenomenal push by him again today. Looking for and hoping for his first win, his first career win here, but that obviously has eluded him. But I think it helps him gauge himself heading into next season. He knows where he sits after this race, and he can do nothing but sit and hope for the season to hurry up and get here so he can continue and pick up where he leaves off.
Absolutely. Want to keep that momentum carried through into 2016, and you know what? It won't get here soon enough for him. No doubt about that. When we look at the events today, Rodney, when we look at the lead changes, when we look at the gaps and the margins, man, what's that tell you about the how equally matched our field is, how equal the speed and equal the talent and skill is?
Yeah, and not taking anything away from the greatness that Caleb Russell and some of those riders that are a little more dominant at this particular juncture or have been. Who's to say, you know, this little time here, confidence rise, and these guys being able to find a few things. Josh Strang and his program coming together. He might be a bigger threat next year, and it might be back to not so much dominance, and we might see a lot more of these type races in the future even.
Rodney, motivation and that stuff, it comes from a lot of different things, you know, and you could be looking at a situation where you're tired of being second, or where, you know what, the guy that you need to beat, you know, you're on his fender now, and all of a sudden it clicks, and I've seen that overnight with certain riders.
And I think I've seen the re-click of Josh Strang, to be honest with you, man. That
right.
Dude, talking to him the last couple of rounds, man, everything just seems to be progressing. But today, when I went and talked, Friday, when we saw him bicycling out about 5 miles away from the racetrack, out in the middle of God's country out here, did you notice the smile that he had on his face? And there was nobody around him. He was talking to no one. He had no radio or any headsets in. You know what he told me? He said, this was, you know, the last few years, this is the first time in the last few years that he's really had the chance, and especially the last few weeks with the race schedule and everything that he's had, his race like the last 14 weeks or whatever. He said that was the first moment in the last 14 weeks that he's really got to go out and be by himself, and he said it was one of the greatest feelings he's had, and he said, I am having one of the best times of my life. He says, I'm feeling the program come together, and he's really excited about what next year has to offer for him.
Oh, and I believe that. You could see it on his face. Like you said, man, that guy was out there in his own world getting it done, man, had his program. He was sticking to it. He was putting in the work and getting the payoff and the rewards for it today.
It is coming in huge dividends, I believe, my friend, as a 1-minute-and-21-second lead is what he had over one of motorcycling's powerhouses in Ryan Sipes, as Sipes running that second-place position now, opening up about a 30-plus second lead over Jordan Ashburn. The gap back to Stu Baylor, 1 minute and 15 seconds, but another big story of the hour and the day today has got to be the 118 of Trevor Bollinger. Man, Trevor, a rider that he started out the season on a team. The team did not mesh well with him. I think he was riding with Stu and those guys, if I'm not mistaken, at Mototech. But regardless, something wasn't working right in that program for him, and he stepped back away from it and reassessed things from a personal level, and then came back. And that's one thing that he and I would talk about a lot, you know, about how he was doing personally and mentally. And he said, you know, it's nothing to do with the equipment. It's nothing. It's me. It's all me. It's just that I've got to find. And I think we finally found it. The last couple of races, it looked like there might be a hint of that showing back up. But today, stamp of approval. I think he's got it going on now with this big lead that he's got.
Yeah, you know, there's never been a question about Trevor's speed or, you know, his ability to get out there and ride a motorcycle or win on a motorcycle. But like you said, sometimes you just don't find the perfect fit. You don't find a good mesh. And if you don't have all the key pieces in the right places, a lot of times it's just negative progress.
Well, he's a minute and 28 seconds ahead of Jason Thomas, who runs 9th place overall, second in the XC2 Pro Lights. Jesse Grome is third in that class and 28 seconds behind Jason Thomas. So it looks like that Bollinger may have this locked up. And as we look at this, when we're about 2 hours and 45 minutes into the race, Josh Strang leading, Ryan Sipes, Jordan Ashburn, Stu Baylor, and Kris Borch.
Amsoil Synthetic Dirt Bike Oil. Out front performance.
The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions. Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's rubber submount. Easier to install at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com.
And welcome back to GNCC Live from Crawfordsville, Indiana, and the world-famous Ironman GNCC, as we are in the process of wrapping up the 2015 season. And round 13, man, I tell you, has certainly had its share of surprises and excitement. No doubt about that. Josh Strang continuing to lead, Ryan Sipes, Jordan Ashburn, and Stu Baylor back in the number 4 spot. Baylor a minute and 13 seconds off pace, so not appearing to be too much of a threat for a podium position finish at this point. But hey, who knows what's going to happen here in this final lap of racing. One rider we've been keeping an eye on, Kris Borch. Borch, who is 6th overall after time adjustments, running behind Trevor Bollinger in the XC2 Pro Lights class, has really been on a major upswing as far as the latter half of this race is concerned. And folks, you know, as we wrap up this race day today, we reminisce and look back at this day. You know, we talked about Jessica Patterson this morning and her wrapping up her motorcycle racing career and calling it a career after this race day. But, you know, not only was that going on in the WXC class today, but yet we had another great WXC battle right down to the wire, and the winner, Matt Watson, was
Casey Martinez. Hello and welcome to RacerTV.com's coverage of the Ironman National. We're here this morning with our 10 o'clock winner and our WXC winner, Casey Martinez. Casey, doing it again, getting it done. First place overall as well as the WXC win. You have to be pumped.
Yeah, I really like this course. It's super fun, super fast, and today was great conditions. Last year, you know, I rode the PM race, so I was stoked to come back and race the AM race with the girls and come out on top. It was really fun out there.
Got Phil Smith and Becca Sheets behind you. Any real challenge today, or were you able to just maintain the pace and be confident the whole race?
Yeah, I didn't get the good start, but right off in the chicanes, I made my way into first and into the woods, and then I actually went down and hit a tree that first lap and got past and went into third. So after that, I made my way back into first and was just good from there, rode my own race, and came out on top, so I was pretty happy.
Well, congratulations on the overall and the WXC win here this morning.
Thank you.
Back to you guys in the studio. studio.
Well, Casey wrapping up another win here today. Interesting note on Miss Casey Martinez. Her boyfriend, who is one of the West Coast stars from the Work Series, Travis Coy, is here racing today, and he's actually testing out the new 2016 model is what he's doing. He's running 10th place right now in the XC1 Pro class, and looking down through the standings right now, that should put him, wow, probably just outside the top 20, because we got a lot of XC2 Pro Lights guys there, some 250A guys, and 4-stroke A Lights guys. So, but nonetheless, good to see Travis Coy out here racing with us, 10th in that XC1 Pro class right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tough ride right there, man. That guy getting it done out there, testing some new product. So that means it's not exactly set up and tuned in and dialed, just out there trying to make some adjustments probably on the fly to this machine. And
it's a new bike, man.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of new
exactly
things. Nobody had ever ridden this machine. He never had any testing on it, no tuning, nothing.
Right.
So everything is going on the fly right there. But he's
so big props to him, man.
No doubt. And I think it's good for him because he gets to come and experience the Ironman too. There's Josh Strang out the at the 8 mile marker, which is not Ironman Hill. It is Twin Peaks. And here we come with Strang. He is solid right now, my friends. About 1 minute and 30 seconds over Ryan Sipes, maybe more at this particular point, as we approach the closing moments of 2015. Megawatt Matt Watson, what a season we've seen. A phenomenal year by Caleb Russell, who seemed to be totally dominating the entire field of riders. Each one of these guys seeming to be a little demoralized by that whole thing, but at the same time, I think some of them were getting a fire being started in their loins a little bit, and we're starting to see that thing really start to stoke up here toward the end of the season. One of the brightest fires that we are seeing blaze up right now is that of Josh Strang, and man, I tell you, I think that Caleb Russell's going to have his work cut out for him those first few rounds, especially until he can at least maybe set it into Josh's mind that, hey, man, I might have been gone for a little bit, but I'm still the man. So it'll be interesting there.
Right on.
And on top of that, Charlie Mullins is going to be coming back. So Caleb's going to have not only that, Josh Strang to think about and contend with, but now Charlie's coming back. And if Charlie comes back strong and hot, training with Alton Baker like he is, man, you never know what 2016 is going to bring.
Rodney, as exciting as 15 was, and so many things we saw, like you said, the dominance of Caleb Russell, the emergence of some new younger riders, the weather conditions that we dealt with, almost rain at some point of almost every round. There was at least rain maybe one day, it seemed like, of every round and that type of thing. So, man, as exciting as 2015 was, I'm with you. I can't wait for 2016.
I know. A lot of people are like, man, I'm glad to see the season over. Wow, it's finally over. It's good to get that break. And I, on the other hand, am thinking, no, I don't want it to stop, man. It's going too good right now. Every 2 weeks or so that I get to come out to the GNCCs and watch these races are the highlights, man. And my kids the same way, man. They're chomping at the bits to get out the door every Thursday night before a GNCC race. So we're all going to kind of miss this around the Tomlin household, I'm afraid.
No question about it, man. You and I be texting each other in the middle of the week talking about things we already talked about. It's how exciting this season was, just rehashing almost the week sometimes. And if it's any indication of what we're going to look forward to in 2016, man, I can't wait. Hey, I'm going to make my way over to the podium right now.
Ashford's right there. Ashford's right there on
Holy cow. Each of them taking a different line up the hill. Who's going to get that?
Sipes got him, it looked like, on this part of the hill. But I'm telling you right now, Jordan Ashburn is riding with a fever right now. There is no doubt about it. Megawatt Matt Watson, Johnny Gallagher joining us back in here. And, Johnny, I think you walked back in right at the right time, man, because Jordan Ashburn was all over Ryan Sipes trying to go for the pass. He went around the longer way, but did you see the momentum he had? He might have tried to line him up to pass him in one of these open field sections, which will be pretty impressive if he can make it happen.
That's what's awesome about GNCC racing. Here we are, 2 hours and 53 minutes and 44 seconds. These guys are down to the final miles. But you know what? They still got some fight left in them. Jordan Ashburn trying to make the pass. Ryan Sipes saying, no way, bud. I'm taking the good line. You're going to have to take the long way around. I got to tell you what, we talked about it earlier in the race. Jordan Ashburn might be a man on a mission right now. Obviously, being a Yamaha guy, I'd love to see him up there one spot further. Looking like he's got a fairly sure podium at this point. So we're going to see that 60th anniversary YZ450 up there. But nonetheless, as he tries to work into that second place position, as we see the replay here, Sipes going around the outside. Here comes Ashburn. Takes an inside line, stuffs it in there, tries to make the pass. Once he realizes he doesn't have the pass, he decides, all right, I'm going to try this line just in case. At this point, you got to believe he's hoping for a fumble, some kind of a mistake out of Ryan Sipes. And there we see Stu Baylor now. So there's our 4th place rider, not terribly far behind. So one mistake or one crash from those guys in 2nd and 3rd there could mean we might see Stu Baylor step up onto the podium. So how about this? Here at the end of things getting exciting, and I'm choking on my own excitement.
Well, I tell you, what are exciting things do we have to look for between now and the finish line, Johnny? I know we got some motocross track, we got some grass track section. What's it all lay out like between mile 8 and mile 12?
Well, from the top of the Twin Hills, we see there at the 8-mile marker, they work their way across the top of the ridge, then they make a hard right-hand turn, and they ride down Godzilla. Godzilla being the huge uphill step-up that they run for the pro-only section on the Ironman motocross section, or motocross track. They actually go down that. From that, they work their way through the rollers or the whoop section backwards. Then they run the entire lower half of the moto track backwards. They work their way into the far woods on the far south side of this property, work their way all the way out to the main highway, crossing 2 creeks, through some tight woods, technical terrain, single track, plenty of passing opportunities through there. So I can assure you one thing. We may not get to see it all go down on camera, but I bet you right now Ryan Sipes and Jordan Ashburn are wheel-to-wheel, trading paint, swapping lines, rubbing handlebars, elbows into each other's ribs, and these guys are going for it.
Wow, and I tell you, that sounds like a pretty challenging 4 miles of racing too, Johnny. I mean, that sounds like everything you could throw at one in a GNCC happening in 4 miles.
Absolutely, and you know what, the bonus money on the line, again, these guys trying to impress sponsors for next year, although I believe both of those riders actually are secured for next. Well, I know Ryan Sipes is. Obviously, we've talked about his 2-year deal with that Coastal Husky team for next year. I don't exactly know what Jordan Ashburn is doing. I haven't talked to him, but you know, maybe he's trying to look for a ride for himself for next year, and what a better way to do it than say, hey, remember me? I'm the guy that dug deep right at the end of the last race of the season and grabbed that extra spot up on the podium, not only on the podium, but one step closer to a win.
Man, wow. And that's one thing that that's something that I've heard him start to talk about as of recently, and was even talking about it today. So I think that now Jordan Ashburn is getting to the point where he no longer is in search of podiums. He wants the podiums, but he's really searching for the elusive first win.
Absolutely. You know, when you get to that point where you're hitting the podium on a regular basis, I've seen it so many times. You know, yesterday's obviously championship celebration for Walker Fowler. I can remember a number of years ago when he first stepped up to the XC1 class. Obviously, it was a bit of a different situation because he had actually won overalls from that XC2 class, one of only 2 riders ever to do that in history on the ATV side. It's never been done on the bike side. He had done it twice, and you know, he wanted those wins, but he came up and he was getting podiums and he was getting frustrated, and he said, buddy, how many years am I going to have to be number 2? I said, number 2 is not a bad place to be, but when you have that mindset, you know, you just want the win. And we see it right now in the WXC class. Obviously, I work closely with Becca Sheets. You know, she got her first win at Powerline 2 weeks ago, and now today, a great ride, solid race in 2nd place, and it looked like someone poured sour milk in her drink bottle on the podium because they want the wins. Jordan Ashburn getting himself into that category because he is a guy that is a consistent podium contender, but he wants that win.
2 minutes before we should see a checker flag flying for Josh Strang as he makes his way through the closing moments of 2015 and this Ironman GNCC on his way to, a very positive offseason, and looking forward to the new 2016 season when we roll into Florida for round number 1. There's Kris Borch checking in now in the number 5 position there in that XC1 Pro class. Again, another great story there behind Kris Borch today, Johnny Gallagher, and to see him riding there. 5th place don't sound like a lot, but considering all the circumstances, an amazing ride.
Not only that, you have to figure this is 5th place against the best riders in the world. It's not like he's out there tooling around at a local race riding 5th, you know, with only 3 guys you've ever heard of before. You know, these are the best riders in the world. Behind him, we've got our current 2nd place, and looks like we'll end up 2nd place in the points, that of Grant Baylor. Doesn't look like Josh Strang, even with the win today, unless Baylor would DNF, there's no way that Strang could catch him and pass him in the points. And even then, it looks like he would come up just a little bit short of being able to pass. And there is Grant Baylor. So with just a few miles to go, at this point, you know, obviously probably on the 6th place ride today, he won't be doing backflips over that excited, but he's got to be proud of the season he's put in. Rookie XC1 season, 2nd place overall, going to run the number 2 next year. If he chooses to run that number or not, we'll see. But that's a phenomenal achievement for a, only 17-year-old rider from South Carolina. You know, we sometimes forget, even the fact that he's a rookie. Josh Strang working his way through the final turns towards the finish. Finish up this thought about Grant Baylor real quick. We forget that Grant Baylor not only is a rookie, but he's only 17 years old.
Exactly, and this guy right here could have him as a formidable opponent for many, many years to come as he rolls to the final race win of 2015. Josh Strang taking the checkers here at the Ironman. And that is the first time, I believe, that Josh has ever won this Ironman race. We were talking in pre-race interviews today, Johnny, and he said this is one that he's never won, but this is one that he wants to win, and he makes that happen now. So you can mark that off the bucket list of wins in GNCC racing, because there's the first of what could be several to come in a what could be a long career, a much longer career for Josh Strang. But he takes the win here today. Official race time, 2 hours, 59 minutes, 57 seconds. Only 3 seconds away from that that 3-hour mark that we try to get so close to. And wow, you cannot call a race any better than that. The track designers did a great job on designing this course with literally right at the 30-minute mark lap times for both ATV and motorcycles today. Yesterday, the ATVs were running 30-minute lap times also. So just an astounding job by the track crew as folks are making their way over to the podium right now for podium presentations and getting ready for all the excitement that comes here with the post-party of GNCC racing.
Yeah, and speaking of excitement, I think within the next couple of seconds here, we should see some serious excitement on our screen at the 12-mile marker. Is it going to be the Air Group Husqvarna Rockstar Rider of Ryan Sipes, the number 264? Are we going to see the number 3 NFAB Am Pro Yamaha of Jordan Ashburn pop over that jump backwards first? Oh, that appears to be Sipes right there. Looks like he's pulled a little bit away from Ashburn. You got to believe that his motocross skills really coming into play here. I don't see Ashburn just yet, so we don't know if Sipes has just lit the wick that much more, or possibly there was a little bit of miscue on the part of Ashburn. But nonetheless, it looks like, barring some kind of a major catastrophe here in the next 2 corners, it is going to be the 264 machine of Ryan Sipes. Great ride for him today in the second place position. You know he wants that elusive win, but I can assure you that coming in to 2016, he is on the short list of those that we know is capable of getting it done. In the background there, we do see the number 3 NFAB Am Pro Yamaha. There he is, Jordan Ashburn. Yet another podium in 2015. This young man really coming on strong here late in the series.
For sure, and Josh Strang posting up his this win, and I think if we do the numbers and the math, this is, wow, only his second win of 2015. I was thinking he had one or so more before that. No, it is it his third? Oh, I'm looking, you're right. I was looking at the wrong rider there. I was looking at box numbers. So it is. He won Unadilla, won Powerline Park, and he won here. So a 3-time race winner here in 2015 for Josh Strang. So pretty impressive. A 2-minute, 1-second gap at the end of that. Wow, he was still running 30-minute, 32-second lap times. Only slowed his lap times down by 30 seconds from the front of this the first part of this race. His fastest lap was a 29:45, and that was on lap 5. But lap 6, he cruised on home and still gained 30 seconds on the rest of the field as he does it with 2:01. 13 seconds back, call it 14 seconds. It's Jordan Ashburn and the third place position, and we still wait for Stu Baylor to check in that number 4 position, and Kris Borch in 5th. That is in XC1 Pro Class. Trevor Bollinger, though, looking and appearing to be going to be the one to take overall 5th place position.
Actually, Rodney, there was a split at the 3-mile marker. I took a split, and it was 1 minute, 0.81 seconds that Bach had over Bollinger. So he would have had Bollinger by 0.8 seconds at the 3-mile marker. So those two are going to be fighting over that 5th place overall position. Quite close, back and forth.
Wow. Yeah, that's tight when it comes to, they're racing the clock at this point right here, I think, as much as each other they're out there. So time adjustment will tell the tale of that one coming up shortly. Baylor checks in a minute and 42 seconds back in the number 4 spot now. Still looking at Vance Francis. He's 14th place overall from the 258 class, our top amateur heading into the final lap of racing. We'll see whether or not he'll be able to maintain that as we say farewell to Richie Carcycle as he makes his way out of the Ironman GNCC. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we have had a spectacular day, a spectacular weekend, and a spectacular season. And we get to put the icing on it all coming up here in just a few moments. As podium presentations will be coming up next as GNCC Live continues.
Any engine, any season. At home, at the track, or on the trail. AMSOIL for any engine.
Scott's Performance, the only steering dampener with 21 Baja 1000 overall victories, introduces the new Scott's Rubber Submount. Easier to install at less than an hour in most cases, it features adjustable on-the-fly dampening to help reduce arm pump and fatigue. Come see what 25 years of experience building the best stabilizer can do at scottsonline.com. The Sunstar Work Z rear sprocket is made of stainless steel, making it 3 times more durable than a standard steel sprocket. Team it with the 520 XTG triple guard sealed ring chain with 3 lubrication pools per side. Durability in the toughest conditions.
This RacerTV live broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. By Rocky Mountain ATV MC, get ready. By Maxxis Tires, find your flow. And powered by Yamaha Generators.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. As we check out some action that the RacerTV crew was able to catch earlier this week on Thursday night over near Cincinnati, and endurocross style racing out at the fairgrounds out there. And you can see that they take a lot of the types of terrains and obstacles that racers are faced with here in GNCC racing and other forms of off-road racing and put it in a small arena-style atmosphere, and you get that kind of racing. It's a very popular form of racing, especially across Ohio now at all the county fairs in 88 different counties. It's starting to be very, very popular, and all across the nation from what I understand as well. Well, here we are getting ready for Maxxis Victory Lane celebrations as Josh Strang finds his way to the center of the podium for the 3rd time here this season. Second place once again going to Ryan Sipes as he best himself by 1 position over last year's finish of 3rd here. And of course Jordan Ashburn, who put that late race charge on, coming across the line in the number 3 spot. A rather phenomenal race at one point, well, basically through the first half of the race or a little better. You could nearly throw a blanket over the top 3 as they were running nose to tail around this race course. Well, it wasn't long after the halfway point, well, with a couple laps left to go, that we saw that Josh Strang just put the hammer down and said, it's time to shine. And that's exactly what he did here on a beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon in the Hoosier State. And of course, as podium celebrations are readying themselves, we head on down to Megawatt Matt Watson, who's got our top 3.
Hey,
right
thank
there.
you so much, Rodney. Down here on the podium right now with our top 3 overall, Jordan Ashford in 3rd place, Ryan Sipes in 2nd, and Josh Strang with the win here today. Make some noise, Crawfordsville. All right, let's try that again. Make some noise, Crawfordsville. All right, that's a little better. That we can live with. Hey, Jordan, tell us all about that race out there today. The rains came last night. The temperatures warmed up. Whole different facility than we were looking at yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. Yesterday, didn't get to look at much, but the track looked pretty good yesterday in spots, and it rained last night. I guess kept the fields down a little bit, and it rutted up really good, and pretty happy with how it turned out.
Jordan, they say you're only as good as your last race, and man, your last race was great. You finish up here on a podium. You have an amazing battle, 110% effort. You have to be pleased with that. I know you have a ton of people that you want to thank, so what a way to end the season, huh?
Yeah, definitely. I'd just like to thank the whole Ampro Yamaha team, Donnie Luce today, Randy Hawkins, Mom and Dad, my girlfriend, MSR Gear, City Boots, and Infab. Echo.
Congratulations, Jordan, on a third place today. Hey, make some noise for Jordan Ashford, you guys. Third place today here at the Ironman. Over here to the superstar himself, man, Ryan Sipes. I want to tell you something. Amazing effort out there today. Always amazing effort from you, but you know how to make it exciting is all I can tell you.
Yeah, it would have been, I wish it would have been a little less exciting. I crashed about 6 times, and I kept coming back to the front, and then I'd crash again. And but it was Josh rode a great race. Jordan rode a great race. My Husqvarna was awesome. I really got to thank God for bringing me out here, bringing all of us out here, and creating a sport like GNCC. This is amazing to be able to come out here and do this. Rockstar, Husqvarna, Air Group, MSR, Aero Helmets, Liat Brace, Dunlop, FMF, Spider Graphics, everybody else that helps me, my mom, dad, my wife, my little boy, everybody, thank you.
Congratulations, Ryan. Ryan Sipes, second place, you guys. An amazing year for this guy right here. And holy cow, over in the middle again. Man, oh man, this guy has caught fire. Josh, tell us a little bit about the day.
It was good. Like you said, we got a little bit of rain last night. It made it, probably made the track pretty good. So overall, it was a good day. These two boys were riding really well, and Ryan crashed with a lapper there with 3 or 4 laps to go, and once he did that, I put my head down and tried to get a gap, so that's what worked.
I got to tell you, Rodney Tomlin called it the other day. When we saw you out on the bicycle, you know, we were cruising back to the track. We saw you out there riding, and we said, you know, that guy looks fit, looks like he's going to get it done, and he called it today.
Yeah, it was, like I said, told him I was just trying to warm up on Friday, and I've been feeling good. Congrats to Caleb this year on the championship. Unfortunately, he wasn't here the last 4 races, so I'd like to think I had something for him, but you never know. So we'll just have to take these 4 races and take them into next year and come out strong and be there to run with Caleb.
Well, you know, the last thing on everybody's mind with you, a win here at the Ironman, so that's what they're going to remember through the offseason. And amazing season for you, found lots of speed throughout the year, and I know you had lots of help getting up here and having a successful year. So who would you like to thank, man?
Yeah, it's been a good year. I signed with Rockstar Energy, Husqvarna Factory Racing, and it's been nothing but good. So I'm real happy that everyone helps. Michael, Timmy, Blue, Joey. I think this may have been his last race for us, so it was awesome working with him. Wish him well with whatever he does, and just everyone that helps comes out. The Ironman fans are awesome, so it's good to see everyone out here again, and it's a nice day for it.
Nice day for it indeed. Congratulations, Josh Strang. We're going to hand you this big bottle right here. We're going to give everybody else their bottles, and it's time for that favorite part for a lot of you people, that champagne spray, man. Stand back and enjoy. Give it up one more time for our top 3 here today, Josh Strang, Ryan Sipes, and Jordan Ashford. All right, we're going to do simultaneous cork pop. Getting a little extra ammo in the big bottle. Look out, and it's on right now. Nobody running away from the podium. Everybody wanting that champagne shower right now. Awesome, awesome time. Hey, guys, while we've got everybody up here on the podium, we're going to go ahead and give Jordan his whole shot award. You want to face Ken Hill right out here. You got a great start. Obviously, the whole shot, Jordan, was able to maintain some of that momentum and keep that drive alive, man, and end up on the podium. You got to be pumped.
Yeah, definitely. The track's really fast here, so I knew a good start was going to be key, and just got a whole shot, and I was pretty pumped, and just tried to stay up there with these guys the whole race.
All right, man, congratulations, and you know what? Looking forward to seeing you next season.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Congratulations, man.
Well, while we reset the podium here, get our XC2 Pro Lights riders up, we want to say congratulations to Brewer Colley. Brewer Colley, at Brewer Colley on Twitter there. He predicted Sipes, Strang, and Ashburn. He got the 3 names right. He hashtag GNCC Live, which was the most important in this Twitter contest, and he was chosen as the AMSOIL Twitter contest winner. Congratulations at Brewer Colley, winner of $250 in great AMSOIL product. Well, put your hands together one more time, Ironman fans, as we say so long and farewell to our XC1 Pro contenders. And I got to point out the fact that it does my heart good to hear how appreciative these riders are on the podium, and hearing Ryan talk about his new career of GNCC racing and what it means to be able to be out here to him. Certainly touches a lot of hearts and souls, I believe, around the GNCC nation today. And we know that Ryan is certainly going to be here in full force the next 2 years, as he'll be riding on a new team, Coastal Husqvarna team, going to be headed up, I believe, by the likes of, well, some old familiar names in the coming future. And we get a chance to meet and greet with our top finishers here in the XC2 Pro Lights class. Trevor Bollinger just really putting on a clinic today, watching the progress of how Bollinger had to struggle and fight and battle his way up into not only a top 5 position, but a podium position finish, and then ultimately in a position to take the win there in the XC1 Pro Lights class with a 1.5-minute lead over the recently newly crowned champion of Jason Thomas. And as we reset the podium here, we're going to be bringing our top 3 up to the stage here in just a moment, as we'll turn things back down there to Megawatt Matt Watson here and get this XC2 Pro Lights podium underway. We can see him right now trying to get the boys up on the podium. We'll have another champagne celebration still to come as well, our top amateur award following this, and that'll do a wrap for the 2015 season. I want to remind folks, you can always go back home, check out all the archive versions of GNCC on RacerTV.com and on live stream. And also RacerTV.com's next live broadcast will be coming the week of Thanksgiving, as we'll be heading to the Mini O's for the Winter National Olympics down there, the Winter Olympics of motorcycle racing. And right now we are wrapping up the 2015 AMSOIL GNCC season with our final XC2 Pro Lights podium of the year. Again, it looks like Jesse holding on to that 3rd place position. Jason Thomas was 2nd, and of course, put your hands together for all 3 of them as Trevor Bollinger stands center of the box here today. Megawatt, right. Another great race today in this XC2 Pro Lights class.
Absolutely unbelievable today, Rodney. No question about it. We're here with Jesse Grum right now. 3rd place today, just unbelievable ride for you, man. It seemed like you had a few moments where you lost a little time, and then you charged back, and then maybe a bit of traffic or a mistake, and man, then you were back on the gas again. Totally impressive on screen, I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I was up there battling with Jason, and it was Nick Davis. Something happened to him, and then Bollinger caught up and blew by, and then I faded back and made it back up again, so it was a good ride.
Hey, man, was it one of those days where you were feeling the flow? You know, like you said, Trevor was flying. You're up there with JT, the champ, and, you know, you seemed like you were in the groove, man. Was it one of those days for you?
Towards the middle and the end of the race. In the beginning, I was struggling with some arm pump. I felt pretty crappy, but I shook it off and started riding decent.
Well, I tell you what, Jesse, an amazing ride here today. I know you had a lot of help and some people you'd like to thank for getting 3rd place here today.
Oh, yeah, Beta USA, Stillwell, Suspension, FMF, Liat, Fly, CD Boots, my mechanic Mike, team manager Zach, my girlfriend, Ken the Tires, Motool, and all of our other great sponsors.
Well, congratulations on an amazing ride. Make some noise, Crawfordville, for 3rd place today, Jesse Grum. Over here, oh, I'm sorry, Trevor. over here into the second place, Jason Thomas. Jason wrapped up that championship a couple weeks ago. We know the extent of the season for you. It's been amazing. You put in the work. You reap the rewards of it, and nothing came easy for you this season. You had to handle it. Tell us a little about that today's race and chasing these guys.
Yeah, today was tough. I got the whole shot and then went the wrong way down the creek. It was marked terribly. Not going to hide the fact of that. Did it 3 times, and everyone was doing the same thing. There was arrows everywhere, so not really sure what that was about, but went the wrong way, and I thought I was further back and put the hammer down, passed everyone, went back to the front, and then I had a big crash last week at the Moose Run, and I hurt my leg, and lap 2 here, I put it in a rut and pulled my groin real bad, so Trevor was with me by then, and I tried to ride with him for a little bit, and we came in for gas, and that was enough. He was going too fast for me. I wasn't in the mood for it today, just wanted to cruise around and enjoy the track, and I shut off too much. Jesse caught me and got with me there, and I was able to gap him. I think he got stuck or something, and started putting my lines together and just trying to stand up as much as I could. As soon as I put it into a rut, it just was agony. So it was a good day, you know, come away with second. It was it's not what I wanted. I would have liked to win, but I've had enough wins this year. So congrats to Trevor. You know, there's only a couple of us been able to win this year, and he's been able to do it at the last round. So congrats to him.
Well, JT, you know, we can't deny what happened this season. You definitely made a mark. I wanted to know right now, who are all the people, man, that helped you put it together this year? I know you got a bunch of sponsors.
Yeah, Dirtwise Riding Schools and DVDs, Maxxis Tires, Climb Technical Riding Gear, Liat Braces, SRT. Dave, you know, Dave's been here throughout the year, and always forget him because he takes off usually, but today he's here, so he gets a mention. Wombat, my mechanic that started out at the beginning of the year with me, you know, he was a huge part of this championship and this year. It's unfortunate he wasn't able to be here at the end of the year, but thanks to him. Shane Watts and his wife and the whole family, you know, for taking me in and helping me out this year. And all the sponsors out there, for all the people out there for pointing lines out and cheering. It was a huge encouragement. Thank you. The fans, yeah. Thank you.
All right, on. Now, you know what? Jason Thomas, your 2015 XC2 champ, your second place here today. Make some noise, you guys, recognizing the fans. Hey, Trevor, here we are. We knew it was coming, man. You and I have talked a couple times. Man, one of them seasons for you, dude. You know, I've witnessed different riders have different problems. You change brands during the middle of the year, and it actually really seemed to put some pep in your step, pick up the speed a little bit. Little nagging things have hindered you all season. How satisfying is this, dude? How gratifying is this?
Oh, it's unbelievable. You know, the season I've had, you know, I always felt I had the speed, and, you know, like you said, just some little nitpicky things that always happen. And, you know, I guess if I'm going to do it, it's good to do it at the last round. So, yeah, I'm happy.
No doubt about it, man. Leave a fresh mark in the sponsor's mind, that's for sure. Now, hey, when you were out there today and you made the moves, I believe Jason got the whole shot. You came in, I think, second, third lap, took the lead, man. What was going through your mind?
Well, I was like dead last off the start, and, you know, I picked my way up about middle pack, and then over at the mud hole, I made a stupid line, and, you know, everybody passed me again. So on the first lap, I was dead last, and, you know, luckily I was able to pick those guys off before, you know, Jason put the hammer down. And, you know, once we got together, we started clicking pretty good, and we pulled away from everybody else, I think.
Well, I tell you what, man, you had the guys in the RacerTV booth going crazy. You know, it was your day today, no question. It's been a long time coming. You put in the work, and all the pieces fell in place today, and that just has to be the best feeling ever, and congratulations to you. Now, I know you've got a lot of people that you want to thank, man, for making this happen here today. Yeah, my dad and Johnny Campbell Racing for helping me pit. Motivations, my suspension was awesome today. Maxxis Tires, ODI, Grips and Bars, FMF. Fly Racing, 100% goggles, CD boots, and my grandpa back home, I'm sure he's smiling, and you know, everybody at home supporting me, looking at the computer. You know, it's just good I did it, and you know, I'm pretty lost for words right now, but yeah, thanks everybody. Well, congratulations to you. Everybody put your hands together for Trevor Bolgen, a fantastic ride here today. Trevor, we're going to get you this bottle here right now. These kids down here look like they're ready for a shower, man. They're waiting on you to take care of business. Let me get out of the way here. And everybody, make some noise while this bottle's going off. Let's hear it for all our riders here today. Entertaining day at the Crawfordsville National. Now, I'm here to tell you something. What you guys got today was 100% entertainment, 110% effort from each and every one of these guys here today. Jesse Grome in third place. Jason Thomas in second, and Trevor Bollinger with the win here today. You know, I'm going to step over here real quick. Jason Thomas got the whole shot today. So while he's throwing out the swag, we're going to present him this check for $100 from Hot Cams. Look at this, by the handful. Look at this, Nick. Jason making people happy, man. Swag by the bag, baby, right there. Swag by the box. I love it. Hey, Jason, you know, like you said, you got the whole shot. The championship was wrapped up. You had the speed, and, you know, hey, a little extra bonus today, and, you know, we're looking forward to next year, and all we can say right now is many more of those in your future, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, like I said, it was an awesome season, and there's so many people to thank, and you know, I'll be forever grateful to all them people for putting it together for me, and you know, I'll never forget it. So looking forward to trying to put something together for next year. You know, like I said, it's still nothing there. So if anyone's got a bit of cash and they want to help out, I'm your man. Thank you.
Right on. Thank you, Jason. Let's hear it one more time for all these guys. Crawfordville, put those hands together. Coming up next, we'll have our top amateur award. Johnny Gallagher will be presenting that.
Well, again, we have a moment to revel in the greatness that is the Ironman GNCC as it all comes to close in a bittersweet moment, so to speak, at least for me. It's kind of bitter, the fact that it's the end of the season, but it's sweet because, wow, it is the Ironman, and we do get a couple of months of rest before we get to go back into the racing action. A lot of farewells being said this weekend, as we said farewell to a few of our ATV folks yesterday, including Kris Bithell, who raced his final XC1 Pro ATV GNCC race there yesterday. Also saying farewell to Jessica Patterson, JP Money, who is getting ready to embark upon the next chapter in her and Eddie's life as they're looking to start a family soon, and wishing them well. And Godspeed, of course, and hope that things go so great in the next chapters of their lives. And just a lot of great things that have culminated into this Ironman GNCC. We said farewell to Takeshi Coweta today, and we hope that he'll come back and visit us again in the future. But nonetheless, it has been a rather remarkable ending to a rather remarkable 2015 season as we head back down to the podium for the American Cargo's Top Amateur Award. Johnny?
For the fourth time in 2015, your American Cargo Top Amateur Award winner is Vance Francis, winning the 250A class in 16th overall. Put your hands together for him, folks. Vance, you for the fourth time this season, you were able to get this job done. I know you said at the beginning of the season this was one of your goals. You said you'd almost never really even thought about it. You just wanted to get some class wins. You won your first one earlier this year, and ever since then it's really all that's been on your mind. As soon as you crossed the finish line, you looked at me today and said, "Did I get it?" Well, you got it, buddy. So tell us a little bit about your day and how you got it done.
Got off to a good start. Got to the lead real fast, and just stayed out front from then. Had a big crash. Got back up, though. Luckily, wouldn't hurt. And just rode hard to the finish.
Now, I could be wrong, but I believe this 16th overall is your best overall finish this season, if I'm not mistaken, and certainly having your fourth top overall amateur must mean a lot to you. I know you didn't do it by yourself. We're going to give you a chance to thank some people that helped you get it done here today and throughout the season.
Yeah, I got to thank God for keeping me safe. My mom, dad, family, my buddy Trey, he's the one who got me into this. Papa, Mama, Factory Connection, Bell Helmet, Atlas, Ride Center USA, Dragon Goggles, Dunlop, and anyone else I forgot.
What about plans for next year? Will we see you up in that XC2 class?
Probably so.
All right, folks, here he is one more time. Let's put our hands together. Vance Francis, today's top overall amateur award winner. And back to you, Rodney.
All righty. Thanks a lot, Johnny Gallagher. Congratulations to you again, Vance Francis. And, wow, once again, thanks to all the GNCC Racing Nation for helping make this such a wonderful season and a wonderful season finale here in Crawfordsville. I want to say thanks to all of Montgomery County for, again, rolling out the red carpet and making this 20th anniversary and 21st running of GNCC here at the Ironman So Special. And we got many more special years and decades ahead, I believe, as this is still only the beginning of something great here in Indiana. And that's going to do it. It's going to do it for RacerTV today. It's going to do it for GNCC for 2015. On behalf of my cohorts this weekend, of course, I want to say thanks to Fred Andrews for all his help on the four-wheel side of racing action on Saturdays, and, of course, to Johnny Gallagher as well as Megawatt Matt Watson. I'm Rodney Tomlin saying so long, everybody.